Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 41. A lot of topic today. And how are you, DC?
Horrible, 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 horrible. This has been going on since Wednesday. For context, my arch nemesis, I don't want to get into details, but let's just say he's coming back to my life. Yeah, totally a lot of fun stuff. Yesterday, because there was an airdrop of a picture of a weapon a couple of weeks ago at my school. They thought I was one suspect, but thank God they cleared me out because I didn't send anybody an airdrop. Yesterday, it turns out the person who sent that as like a joke just to skip school, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That just makes the people here look more worse, and actually makes me wondering, well, actually, what happened to the future of my town? Because pretty sure it's gonna end up like Gotham City, except worse. Like, yeah,
People,
yeah.
man. People do weird life choices, especially when they're teenagers. And yeah, man. It's all you're educated. And it's sad. It's very sad to hear that. But I hope this stream will help you out a bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
these streams always help me out because I can talk about something positive at the very least, and these streams do give me a sense of enjoyment. So because I can actually experience new things, learn things that maybe I never thought I learned. Yeah, so these streams always help.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear that they help. And you, Cole, what is going on with you? How are you?
Um, I mean, at the moment, again, usually when I go in, besides the odd week here and there, I'm usually feeling pretty good, but the days prior to it, 50-50 usually. And that is just life, but, again, there's a lot of, things going on, and I also had to take my cat to the vet because it had some issues with its eye and kind of just had a midlife crisis with one thing. So, yeah, mixed, but that usually happens often. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't think it's kind of hard to believe that anyone is just having a good day every day or the majority of days. It just seems hard to believe, in my opinion. Like, there's good moments, but I think there's always gonna be times throughout the day where it's shitty,
Yeah,
at least once. So I don't know.
I fully agree. I see where you are coming from, and it makes sense. Um, so I hope your cat will be well because we always love our pets. I don't have pets, but I know that feeling. As a child, I used to have dogs. I'm a big dog lover. And the main reason why I don't have a dog as of today, it's because I don't have much time to care for them, and it's one thing that is very important when you get pets. You need to have the time to take care of them, and
Hmm.
that's the only thing that is stopping me from having one because I know I wouldn't neglect them, and what's the point of having a pet if you neglect them? So that's just how I see it. Um, and yeah, pets are amazing.
And
um,
that actually kind of fits into. I mean, we're not discussing the film today, but that did remind me of something involved in the first Rocky film that I'll bring up next week when we discuss it, involving pets. Because yeah,
that's
actually,
great to hear.
I mean, I could say it now. Like, it isn't some like story thing. Basically, Sylvester Stallone. I mean, yeah, he starred in the film Rocky, and he was the original creator of it. He wrote the entire screenplay for Rocky, and which is why nowadays people are kind of like campaigning for him to get like a royalty and money and shit because it's not right. But basically, yeah, he was broke as hell, so he basically wrote the script to get paid, and prior to that, he was so broke that he had to sell his dog for $2,000. And
Oh
but then
wow.
later when he sold the script though for and starred in the film for $500,000. He bought his dog back for $15,000, and then had him in the film, the first Rocky film, with as the character's dog. So that's a cool. That's a yeah. 2 years later. So yeah, that's a cool story for you.
Yeah, I think it's touching. Like that shows that some people do care about their animals, and I like that. Like, man, these animals, they never ask to be born, and us taking care of them is just amazing. So that kind of story is very touching. Thank you for sharing this, man. I would have never known
Yeah,
because I don't know that kind of stuff about behind the scenes stuff, and you're the
yeah,
guy
yeah.
that
I
knows
like.
everything.
Yeah, I like reading, film stories like that. I know a lot. Like we might, we're gonna cover the guy's filmography eventually. A lot of them are foreign films, so we'll watch the dubs, but they're worth it. But he did this one film, Snowpiercer. It was yeah, the director I'm speaking of, and so yeah, you probably haven't heard of it, but yeah, it's just some this film on Netflix, and basically the guy producing it was Harvey Weinstein, and he clashed a lot with him on set, in a typical fucking bastard Harvey Weinstein fashion, and fucking sexually assaulting women later and getting in
Oh,
prison for it.
oh
And
wow.
he tried, yeah, and again, you'll see it when we eventually do it someday, watch through his filmography and watch that film. But in that film, there's this one, like, kind of sushi scene in it that he really liked in the film, and Harvey Weinstein tried making him remove it. So he said to him, it's to honor his late father, who was a fisherman. So he's like, okay, family matters first. You can have the scene in the film, and then a month later in a news thing, he was like, "That was a fucking lie. My father wasn't a fisherman." So
So
yeah, I just love reading stories like that.
that's good stories, man. That can make interesting discussion about movies and stuff, and the people making the movies. They are very colorful. I think most artists are colorful in their own ways.
Oh yeah,
So that's
yeah.
always funny to hear about that.
Especially with producers, like again, some of the producers on The Godfather, which we'll eventually watch, known as some of the greatest films of all time, and the Alien film
Yeah.
we just watched. Yeah, they tried so hard to fucking ruin those films. It's like they didn't want them to be successful. God, and then just seeing the producers of The Godfather like fucking get Oscars for Best Picture afterwards, when they literally harassed the director Francis Ford Coppola and tried constantly to fucking ruin his work. It's just disgusting. They deserve jack shit. But anyway, we'll get to that in the future, if we ever cover them. But yeah.
Yeah. So I guess now we can go over the best TV show ever made. Well, it's called Gotham Knights.
Mm.
We know DC enjoy it, but we don't. Actually, what we like is to roast it, Cole and I. But DC genuinely likes it, and that's very interesting. That's why this
Again,
panel is so great.
there are
It's
moments, there are things I can find that aren't crap, and I brought them up. Like again, I think there's only been like 1 or 2 episodes I've given just a straight up 1 out of 10 so far. And I think that, yeah, I think only one so far, and that's the first one. I don't think it's She-Hulk levels. I think it's like a .5 above She-Hulk levels for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Actually, it's a bit more than
Yeah,
point 0.5, but the first episode was one of the worst pilot I've ever seen. I'm not joking.
yeah,
But I think that was like the worst episode so far. It doesn't fly eye, but it's not as
yeah,
bad as She-Hulk. It's
yeah, but
clearly a bit better than She-Hulk. It has issues, but yeah, it's still like
yeah,
the bottom of the barrel.
yep. Well, I have to say though, this episode this week, probably my second worst. Uh, I thought this episode, I have a feeling this episode might actually be one of multi topics like least bad episodes. We'll see. But for me,
Yeah.
I hated this episode. Still, it again. They might there might be like, okay. The one thing I'll at least say is the acting with the main characters was at least a bit of improvement. I saw it's like throughout each episode they filmed the actors that were amateur as fuck got slightly better here and there, and they got a bit better here, and that's what I'll give them credit for. And but I just this episode story wise, writing wise, and everything outside of like a few moments, I just thought was horrendous and a waste of time, and it was just like this other episode, like episode 3 or something. It was all just fucking filler. It was all fucking garbage filler, and for the most part, and once again, just like the last episode with like that cop and everything, the introduction is just horrendous. It's like they get the worst actors ever to do like the introduction for them on that Gotham Knights shit. And with like the worst pacing ever, the worst music, it's just embarrassing to me. It was like odd. I don't understand like what but yeah, that fucking bar scene was terrible. I don't know how to describe it. It was good dog shit, but nonetheless, the rest of it wasn't as dog shit as that, but it was still fucking horrible to me. The editing was horrendous again. The directing was horrendous. The cinematography wasn't completely horrendous, but still not good. Music horrendous. Yeah, I was not a fan of this episode at all. This is probably my second worst so far. But honestly, at this point, I'm losing track of where I'm ranking the episodes. All I really know is that the first episode is easily the worst, and after that, I've kind of forgotten at this point because this show is so unmemorable that I've kind of like I remember everything that happens in each episode. I just forget like what happens in what episode. It's just all like one giant thing for me instead of episode by episode because it's that unmemorable where I can't keep track of it. But anyway, I'll let you guys go now. But yeah, there's my summary of it basically.
So my summary, it has the same freaking issues as any previous episode. It doesn't improve on anything. But I will admit, this was my favorite episode so far. It has the same score as the third episode, but here's the thing. One major issue with the third episode took away 2 entire points. And the biggest issue I had with this episode only took away 1 point. This is why I say it's actually the best episode. Because my biggest issue doesn't weigh as much as the biggest issue in the third episode. And when I look at my notes, I really laugh hard because I remember the third episode just because of the big issue I had. That was the episode where they let freaking terrorists win and have such terrible dialogue. It was like, oh my.
Yeah.
But so far, these 2 episodes, episode 5 and 3, are like the standout episode. They're still really bad. But they're better than the rest. Because I look at the grade, I'm like, bruh, it's almost She-Hulk bad, almost, and it's really low, you know. It's funny how this show tries so hard to be funny, but it's not. I don't know who got hired for the writing of the dialogue and stuff, but if there's a second season, fire them. It's not funny. Look, that may sound harsh, that may sound rude. I'm not the kind of person that wish people to get fired, but you're paid to do one thing and you don't do it properly. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm working in security and it's like I don't do my round and I pretend I do. It's like, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
It's like they hire. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they have scenes every episode where not only are they trying to be funny, but they're trying to be funny in like this charismatic way where it's still taking itself seriously, but it cracks like a subtle joke, sort of like what John Wick kind of does in its films. But except the issue is none of the actors are talented and charismatic enough to pull it off.
And the writing, look,
Yeah,
John Wick is not a comedy. No, it's action packed. But here's the thing with John Wick, when they make joke and they try to be serious about their joke, it lands well because it's well written and well acted and everything. With Gotham Knight, I feel like they're like, oh, I think it's funny. Let's place it in the script. People will find it funny. No, bro, that's not how humor work. Like, you need to ask around, are you laughing? If you don't laugh, if the one making the joke is the only one that laugh in the room, there's something wrong. Just saying. Like, the best test is asking around, but I'm sure that kind of people making the show, they don't really ask around. It's obvious they don't ask around, because if they did, they would
they're the
do
type of
better
people
work.
who think they know everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the vibe I'm getting, because the dialogue just never improves. And when several people are talking about something to improve something, said something change, you know? They don't stall, they don't stay the same from start to finish. But that's just how I feel and how I see it. I'm not in the room with them, but this is what the kind of vibe I'm getting when I see their show. Like, they either they are not honest with each other, or they don't ask each other if they really find that funny or not. Um, so yeah, it's not funny. The dialogue is terrible as usual. The pacing is so bad. You see, in CW shows there's that trope, too many characters. And it's funny because when you really look at the shows, Superman and Lois, The Flash, and Gotham Knights, these three show I have probably the same amount of main character and regulars and stuff. And there's one show, guys are not really into it as much as me, but that one show, Superman and Lois, the entire cast is well used and it never feels overcrowded. But then you go to like the Flash, where sometime when the focus is on the right characters, it works well, and then when the focus is on the side characters, it falls apart because they are weak and not interesting. But with Gotham Knight, the only good character is Harvey Dent. The kids, I don't give a crap about them. They are all bad character. They are not interesting at all. They are played by not really good actors. And I'm not the kind of people that will really trash actors, because that's a really hard job. And when you see me speaking about, when you hear me speaking about bad acting, it's because the acting is really bad. Because that's not the kind of stuff I really point out. It's rare. Like, in the last year we have been doing the podcast, we can count on the fingers of one hand the times I mentioned bad acting. We can count them on the fingers of one hand. And I feel like half of them are in this show. It's so bad, really. It's that I really want to like the show, but they don't give me enough to like it. Here again, I repeat myself. They try really hard to be funny, and it's not. Um, so that's my overall thought. Same issues. I already mentioned half of my issues, but now we will take some insight from DC, because I know DC has been liking it much more than us so far. So, what are your overall thoughts without going too deep?
This is I thought was again a very enjoyable episode. It's probably the weakest episode so far, but I mean it was still really really enjoyable. Still enjoyable for me.
That's good. Some positivity, so we don't sound like haters. Thank you for your insight. Um, so now I will finish my issues, and then we will go to your issues if you had any, DC. So I already mentioned a lot of them, and it's like I repeat myself because it's pretty much the same thing that keeps coming back. So next up is how convenient that corrupt cops are sent after the Knights. It's so plot convenience. I'm so tired of corrupt cop. It's like I feel like 90% of the freaking shows have corrupt cops, and the other 10% is doing it right because they try something other shows don't, like having good cops. Uh, it's so terrible. It's laughable, and yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. The music when Carrie went back in her room was so terrible. That's at the end of the episode. I'm like, bruh, I will have headache after that. I need to like forget about the episode. Like, can I have amnesia for once? Pacing, oh my, the pacing. I don't know how many times I mentioned pacing this episode, but the pacing. This episode, like, could have lasted 30 minutes instead of 40. I'm not joking. It's filler filled. Last 5 minute ish was filler. I feel like most of the episode was filler actually. This episode, the only good thing that really mattered was RV Dent, and he is the best part about this show. He's the best thing about this show, and the mystery around him, and getting some of the pieces of him becoming Two Face is great. I need more of this and less of the kids. I don't care about the kids. Make it a Two Face show. I don't care about the kids. Can already delete the kids. It's so sad, but bruh, it's uh man, it's sad because I feel like they waste a good actor, and they actually waste something that can be a good character. Because RV is good. RV is interesting. He is like the light at the end of the tunnel. That's how I feel with RV. So, what would be your issues if you had any, DC?
I feel like I feel like I do agree with your points that some parts of the episode felt like filler, for like the whole like academy stuff. I feel like that was filler. Um, the whole like Harper dating this Dylan guy, I thought that was also a little pointless.
We don't need that kind
Uh,
of backstory, and it's not interesting. I feel like it's an insert from the writer. They are like, oh, when I was a teenager, I was dating them, or I had that wet dream I was dating them, but they never could because they are not good person.
yeah, yeah, and I also
Um,
thought that.
well, that's a lot of CW writers. Let's face it. It's secretly their fantasies. The shit they do.
Yeah. Another issue I had, and this is my last final issue, was that in the chase scene when Carrie pulls the truck or opens the truck, I did find it a little weird that the cops did not immediately recognize, but I guess that's more of a nitpick. But I mean, a lot of superhero shows and movies have this kind of stuff. I mean, so not that surprised, but I still felt like it's a little obvious that they went out that with something like that. Like they open a truck door and they're all not wearing masks, and yet no cops was able to not identify them.
I agree. It's true. I mean, it's freaking true. This TV show has so many issues. Like, we all brought different issues, and we are three. Just imagine more people. And look, um, I think the anti woke people are toxic, like really toxic. But I will admit, when they cover Gotham Knights, I watch it because I find that so funny. Because they just rose the crap out of the show, and they find issue I didn't find. So it's like that's the enjoyment I get when other people find other issue I don't find. it's just all Gotham Knight is, and Batwoman it was the same thing, but I feel like, and that may be a take, I feel like Batwoman was better than this. When it's the odd take like that, it's like wow. Um, so yeah, we will see when I rewatch Batwoman because we will eventually cover Batwoman here. We will cover the entire Arrowverse, and right now the only missing
Yeah,
ones is like
I mean, we can cover either Supergirl or Batwoman next after the Flash seasons.
I thought um, Batwoman before Supergirl. My idea was maybe we keep Supergirl until the release of Woman of Tomorrow, a bit like the Flash. So we will probably keep that one for a bit later. But Batwoman, yeah, that could be a great idea. Batwoman after the Flash. Um, and we also got Black Lightning, which is a really good show, very underrated, and not that many people. So I will edit that, just like what Cole said. Same thing as last week because my computer is really bad. Anyway, I think we were talking about future topic being like Black Lightning and Batwoman before my
Yeah.
computer crashed. So yeah, that's the plan. Black Lightning will be a very good show, but I think we will keep it for after Batwoman. Um, the main reason is I know Batwoman will be bad, so I'm like, Black Lightning will be the treat, the candy, at the end of the Black Tunnel, because it's dark there. Anyway, um, let's let's keep going with Gotham Knight. So, is any of you want to point out other issue before we move on to
I
things we
mean,
actually
I'm pretty
like?
much done with everything I said, but
Okay,
and I've also said my likes, so you can continue without me there.
okay. So, DC, any likes you may have before I move on?
Hmm. I enjoyed in terms of some positives. I enjoyed the McKellans as villains, and you see the some of the action where Turner just takes down that one guy pretty quickly, and I like the group's banter and how they take out the criminals pretty quickly. And I have to say, the mystery behind the Court of Owls and is was always making the show better for me. And I also like Harvey Dent's character arc where he's going through where apparently he inherited the mental disorder from his father, and I like that they even brought up they use terms like abusive and dysphoria, something like that, or insomnia, something like that, because it makes the show more real. Like yeah, I know the Flash did say dissociative, but I like how Gotham Knight actually uses the actual terms more, which is something I've enjoyed because not a lot of superhero shows does that. And to be honest, I have to give credit for it. And I think Harvey Dent, like you said, is just the best part of the show. He's the one character I'm always like, man, I wonder what his character is doing because I'm very interested. I mean, the actor who plays him, I have to give him credit because man, he does a really good job, and I'd say I really like his Harvey Dent. And as someone who does enjoy the show, I have to say the actor who plays Harvey Dent, credit to him because he just makes the show a lot better for me and makes me enjoy the show more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm on board with you. He is a good reason to keep up the fight, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's like I enjoyed the mystery of the Court of Owls. I think that's really well done. I think Harvey Dent just makes the storyline better for me. Again, this is like a storyline that like I like the idea of the Court of Owls and having Harvey Dent there. And I think in the last few episodes, they set up does Harvey Dent have a connection with the court, which I think they might be hinting that he does, just maybe we don't realize it yet, unless they're using that for when he becomes Two Face eventually.
Yeah. So, anything else to add before I share my likes? Because I still have a few likes here. That was my favorite episode so far.
Not for me.
Okay, so I enjoyed the opening scene, and that's very funny because I actually forgot what it was. This is how forgettable this episode was. It's so sad. Like even my likes, I can't remember them. RV is one of my likes. One of his first few scenes was enjoyable. I can't even remember that scene. Bruh. Next thing, seeds for RV becoming Two Face were well planted. I like that part a lot. The car chase, I did enjoy it. Some action is always appreciated. I need more action. The music was fine when they threw the money away, and it's rare I say that about the Gotham Knight TV show. RV living two lives and waking up in someone else's bed was intriguing. Um, and then the cliffhanger with RV realizing something going on with him was great. I will say this. Uh, there's not much to say more. RV, you make the show watchable at best. um, so I think we can move on to the grades. Starting with Cole, what would be your grade out of 10?
This is between a 1 and a 1.5 out of 10.
Okay. My grade at first was a 5.5. But then I was looking back at the episode and I'm like, is it bad or awful? And I was like, it was awful. It was a filler. It was a 4.5 out of 10. It lost an entire point for being filler. Because take it out and you don't miss much. The only thing you miss is like the RV stuff. And this is funny because he's the only relevant part of the show so far. The kids, I just don't give a crap about them. It's very sad. Like even the Joker daughter in the first episode was the best part of it. And the second, I was like, oh, she's enjoyable. But then after the second episode, I'm like, I don't really care anymore about her. And the only really good thing I lash on is like RV. And it's sad because I feel like she is trying her best. It's just the material she receives is just atrocious, and that makes the experience bad. It's just very sad. Um, anyway, for me, 4.5 out of 10. What about you, DC? What would be your grade out of 10?
A 9 out of 10.
That's good. That's the point of this podcast. Now you feel how I feel when we speak about Superman and Lois. Guys don't really enjoy it as much as me. So
Yeah.
we both share some similar feelings.
Yeah.
Um, so, next up would be The Flash, except if any of you would like to add one last thing about Gotham Knight. I guess that's a no. I guess that's a no. Uh,
Yeah.
the Flash first season. Uh, what were your thoughts about it, Cole? Are you still alive, Cole?
Sorry, yeah, sorry. I'm while doing this, I'm just typing some stuff up for someone for another stream. So my bad. Which episode are we
Now we move on
doing?
to the Flash first season.
All right, okay, yes. So when so I was hoping that I would get more enjoyment out of maybe some of the earlier seasons, at least in the Flash, when I decided when we decided to rewatch these. And I don't know about the other seasons, but I'll be honest, yeah, I did actually get more enjoyment out of season one on a rewatch. There were more things I liked, and there were more episodes I really liked, and I'll tell you which ones were my favorite episodes later on. But I will say, just the Flash versus Arrow episode, rewatching it was fantastic for me. But
Oh, that's good to hear.
yeah,
That's really good to hear. That's actually one of the standout episodes. I always enjoy rewatching
Yeah,
crossover.
it isn't my favorite though. I'll
Yeah.
tell you which one my favorite is. I think it's most people's favorite though, because I'm pretty sure it's the highest rated online. I'm pretty sure it's like a 9.6.
Which one?
Out of Time, episode 15.
Oh, that's very interesting. I liked Out of Time, but I'm one of the few that will say that episode has a lot of issues. I actually like the follow
Ah,
up.
you didn't like it as much.
Yeah, I like the follow up much more than that one. Um,
Oh well, which one is your favorite episode out of them?
and season one, I would need to like take a look at it, but because it's been a long time, I remember the overall season, what I liked and my issues. So my favorites, it's actually more than just my favorites in season one. It's my favorite in the entire show. Fast Enough, the season finale, when he gets to see
Ah,
his mother and
that
he get to choose to not save her because he realized he can mess up things.
yeah. You see, that is my second favorite episode. There's a lot of movies that have done similar stuff, and with comic book movies like I would say the Shazam plot with his mother, Guardians of the Galaxy, love interest in Captain America, who I wish they didn't have that scene at the end of Winter Soldier, because it kind of ruins the what made the end so soul crushing in the first. But anyway, this is just as good as those for me. That what they how they executed it in that finale. So yeah, that would probably be my second favorite.
And I'm looking at it right now, and my second favorite is a bit harder to find because I am currently
Is it
making
episode 20?
no, not even 20. But that was a good one. Um because right now, as I was rewatching the entire show for my video, I was making a tier list. I have my tier list before my eyes right now, and I think my second favorite would be Rogue Time, the one right after Out of Time, the one where basically Barry tried to change things, but he makes everything worse. That was my second favorite.
That sounds like the plot for the Flash. Honestly, the movie, and as for Miller's life, but
So, since we already shared our favorite episode, I'm curious to see what was your favorite your top two episode of the first season, DC.
Mm. The first season as a whole, I thought, I mean, not the best season. It's definitely a little overrated, but it was still a very enjoyable season. I'd still say it's a good season. Just I don't think it's the best like everybody says. But yeah,
Not everybody. I say season two is the best, but I know what you
yeah,
feel about season two. But
mm, yeah.
yeah, what would be your favorite your two favorite episode in that season?
I think it's Out of Time. I'm as number one. The other, hmm,
Keep in mind this is the
probably.
season where Pipe Piper is there. That's another episode I liked. Or there's also the episode where there's a team up against Reverse Flash with episode 22. Um, so yeah, what would be your second one?
Hmm, probably Rogue Time or Revenge of the Rogues. One of those two as the second.
You know what? These two episodes are great.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. Um, but yeah, that's that. So, um, what what would be your issues, Cole, with the first season?
uh, again, my issues with the first season would be kind of the issue that I have with the show in general, sort of like similar to Legends of Tomorrow and many other CW shows. Like that's kind of the thing with CW. Their shows. The issues with it, they don't really go away. They just either have more redeeming qualities or don't, to either make them better or not, or they or attempts at trying to hide it. And with the Flash, it would one big thing is just tone. I really think the tone and the music and the pacing and a lot of the Flash show I'm just not a big fan of. Sort of like it's sort of like what I thought of Stargirl at first until season 2 and season 3. I would say it's just a lot of issues for me there. Now with season 1 rewatching it though, it is definitely not as big of an issue as it is in the later season, and definitely season 9 now. But still, again, also just like any CW show, some of the acting is a bit over the top, and yeah, I'd say the direction was actually I actually kind of liked it in this episode, and I think there was a lot of episodes though that were while the direction was good, it was shot way too brightly in some episodes. I think they should have changed it up a little bit, but and my least favorite episodes would probably be my least favorite would probably be either episode 3 or episode 5 out of all them.
Oh, very interesting. Me, I from the get go, from the start, I exactly know which episode would be my least favorite one.
Mm.
For me, it's clearly episode number 7, where Barry Power are getting stripped away because we want to give some Harrison Wells moment there. I really hate when
I,
she'll just take away the hero power to level up the tension. It's not great.
yeah, well, I mean, for me, the reason why I didn't mind it that much in this was because at least it's sort of like I would say episode 2 of She-Hulk with the Abomination character, where the episode was still bad like every other She-Hulk episode, and they did dumb shit similar to that, I but the with the tension aspects and with the characters there he's facing, there were some really good performance scenes there. That reminds me of why episode 2 of She-Hulk is one of my not probably the least of my worst episodes, one of them, because there was some, yeah, it was really entertaining, good performances still, and that's what I got from Power Outage. With episode 3 and episode 5, they're while the setup and what they did in the episode might have been okay to an extent, it just is super forgettable, super bland to me, and it was not executed well. Especially episode 5, it like felt like
The bomb
it,
gear?
it, it
Is it the
uh,
bomb gear?
um Plastique. The
Yeah, the
episode's
bomb
called.
girl. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it felt like a Netflix anime live action adaptation. That's what it felt like.
And the
Yeah.
third one was the
Anyway,
gas guy. The
yeah,
gas guy was
basically.
the actor was fine. That was the actor that was playing Zaz in Gotham, but
Hmm.
the character himself wasn't that great. Uh, so I
Yeah,
can totally see why 3 and 5 are your least favorite. I think they would be my least favorite after Power Outage as well. That's for me,
yeah,
because right now I'm taking a look at it, and Power Outage is one of my least favorite episodes in the show. But episode 5 is also kind of low. And I have a very hot take. Season 1, episode 9 was also a disappointment on my most recent watch. Uh,
well, I was actually gonna ask you, out of all the episodes that are kind of like the highest rated to fans, which would be like a 9 out of 10 and above, which one would be like the most you disagree with? But I guess you got the answer. You said the answer there.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
that one, I
season
guess.
1, episode 9. So, here's the thing. Uh, when it first came out, that was one of my favorite episodes. But I feel like each rewatch I'm getting from the show, and I think for the first season at least, it's like my 5th or 6th rewatch. I feel that episode is overrated a lot, and I have more issues each time I watch it. And when I look at my list, man, this is a very low episode. Considering it's season 1, it's really low, and there are worse episodes for sure, especially in later season, but considering it's from season 1, it's almost rock bottom season 1 for me. Like, there are 3 worse episodes than this in season 1. Crazy for You, the one with Peekaboo that teleports. And All Star Team Up, oh my, that was a cringe fest. The whole drama with Harrison reveal and like Ray and Love Triangle shenanigans. I really hate this shit. But that's funny because I've seen that back in December for my video series I'm working on right now. Um, I remember some of my issues. I don't remember every single issues I had with episode 9, but my first big issue would be the freaking love triangle. I ate the guts out of Barry, Iris, and Eddie. It just doesn't make sense for me at all. I thought Iris and Eddie made sense together, and Barry just felt off. And I feel like Barry, as a character, and the actor himself had much more chemistry with Linda Park. And with Patty Spivot in season 2, we are not there yet, but I feel like every other love interest Barry had, even Felicity at some extent, they are all freaking better than Iris. It just bothers me so much. It took them like 8-9 years to freaking make Iris and Barry work. Even in season 8, they were not working well. Like, the best scene were when they were not together.
Well, look, I'm sure that whatever money, the actor or actress paid, I'm sure it was pretty high. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's like, um, I remember in that episode there was a crazy plot armor on Barry, and it's kind of convenient that Firestorm is able to like burn a speedster when the speedster are like
Yeah, that
crazy
was fucking
fast.
dumb.
I'm like, ow, like
Yeah,
ow.
that was stupid. And again,
Are you
I'll
moving at
be
super speed,
honest.
Firestorm?
The first half of the season, I'll be honest, was I was starting to think this would be as really meh or bad as I remembered. But in the first half, I really wasn't into it, and not into like the pilot or even the second episode. But the second half, I enjoyed a lot more, even with some issues with some characters. The overall story and writing, I at least enjoyed more of what they tried doing. So
And the love triangle, man, it was the biggest sin of season 1 for me
I
overall.
wish they just didn't have it.
Me too. Like, each time I rewatch, I roll my eyes. Sometimes I have that idea I should just
I
skip all
sometimes
the
skip.
scene.
Yeah, no, I skip sometimes.
It's just godly terrible. I ate love triangle, and I ate it even more when 2 of the 3 members of that circle doesn't have chemistry at all, and it's the case here. They just don't fit.
None of them do.
Well, I thought Iris and Eddie worked well, but it's really
I
very
thought it worked
ambiguous.
better. I still didn't think it worked that well, but it worked better.
And I
But
feel like Eddie is the biggest reason it was able to pull it off. He is a much better actor than the actress playing Iris. But here again, I think it comes
hmm
down to the writing. Uh, he just gets better material than her.
yeah. Now
Um,
I suppose this was one of the Flash was one of CW's like older shows, right?
yeah, it was right after Arrow. It was made as Arrow was the
Yeah, so I
third
have to
season.
say I blame this show for all the love triangles in CW.
Well, Arrow had
Anyway,
one. But
Oh, nice.
the Arrow one wasn't anywhere near as bad as the Flash one, and I think it's
Yeah,
because the three actors involved were better. I think. Um,
I
I
guess.
I think Stephen Amell when he first started was better than Grant Gustin when Grant Gustin first started.
Yeah.
They both improved a lot throughout their own shows, but I think Stephen Amell added better. I think it also comes down to the writing, um, because I feel like the writing in Arrow was always more square and a bit better. Um, so we both shared our like worst episode
Yeah.
this season,
I mean, I pretty
DC.
much just have two last things to say
Uh,
or
before
ask.
before you ask, DC, what would be
Oh
your
no,
least
I'm just
favorite
saying that. I was just pointing it out. Yeah, go DC.
All right, so let's.
least favorite in season one?
All right, so I actually have three. It's episode 2, episode 7, and episode 20 is the Garage episode. Those are the three episodes I did not like.
Oh,
And
very interesting.
you know,
And why these three?
episode 2 was very, very forgettable, and I feel like Barry having pulling off his mask in public, like
Oh, you're
um
right. That's
how
the
did
episode.
nobody saw that? It was like it's so obvious. I was like, I mean, it's not where people are hate the Flash and he can go and do that. He's going out in public. And I'm like, wouldn't there be people around? And also, some of the scenes with Caitlyn were so unbearable. Yeah,
She was rough
episodes.
in season one. She was rough.
Yeah, yeah. In episode 7, reason I didn't like this because I thought it was so boring, so forgettable, and I mean, they had to bring Clock King from Arrow. I'm like, and it's like he served no
Seven.
purpose.
Seven doesn't have Clock King. Seven is the episode where Barry loses powers. Power outage.
Yeah, but not sure if you
Clock King
probably.
was in it. I can't even remember Clock King
Yeah,
being in
he
it.
was. Yeah, he was in it. He was in the like around like the hostage kind of area, something.
Oh, I remember now. You're right.
Yeah,
That's funny because that's one of the few episodes I keep skipping when I rewatch the season. So I think I actually remember this. Um,
yeah. You think that Barry and Clocking are gonna have an epic fight, and turns out they don't even have it. It's so underwhelming. And power outage, I power out. I always thought that episode was just bland because of how it doesn't do anything other than just makes Barry lose his powers. And now, granted, in some cases, I think that's a okay idea, but like in season 6 when they did that because it actually makes sense, but early on, it does not, especially because you'd expect at least to hope that Barry somehow gets out of it, but
yeah.
he doesn't. I, I mean, how did he get his powers back? I completely forgot about it.
I think he was electrocuted by the guy that took away his powers. But I think to this episode defense, the point was to showcase Harrison Wells' true colors. How he's all about himself and he doesn't really care much about others. And I think that was one of the standout thing about that episode. It's to showcase the great villain he is slowly revealing to the viewer. But even there, it's still a very bad episode for me. Um, so yeah. And what
Yeah.
about the episode number 20? Why is it one of your worst?
Literally, Iris's reaction to finding out Barry's the Flash is just ridiculous, and that's like what 90% of the episode. 10% is actually the Gorilla Grodd stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, and it actually makes people kind of hypocritical. I'm like, you seriously like Iris in season 1, don't like her in season 4? I'm
Yeah,
like,
I do. I really ate the guts out of Iris in season 4. I think the only two good season Iris had was season 1 and 2. Season 6 started off amazing with her, but they missed the mark so hard in the back half. I think it's a huge miss, the back half of season 6. But I think in season 5, she was just really annoying. She was always the person to contradict Barry about Nora. That was like, bruh. Each season bring new issues with Iris for me. um, season 8 was somewhat decent for her when it was about her and not the stupid sickness she had. Um, yeah, season 1 and 2, Iris was rough at points, but overall she was enjoyable. She was a really good character at that point in the show, and the story she had was about her. Like in season 1, it was about her becoming a journalist and showing to people she's better than just the person that knows the Flash, and that's very interesting. That has some kind of Superman and Lois vibes. The flavor that Lois is more than just a journalist that help out Superman to become Superman. Uh, it adds that Flash vibe to that kind of story with Iris and Flash and stuff. That's why season 1 was great for Iris. But then you get all the love crap, the romance that really pissed me off so much. It's a bit sad. But now I see where you're getting at. So Cole, what would be your two other questions?
I was gonna ask them, and then DC can continue forever long. But basically, I just wanted to ask you both. One, what was your thoughts of the second last episode? Because that has been kind of an episode where a lot of people, for some reason, think it's the best, or for some reason, think it's like the worst in this season. And then, secondly, what you thought of the action overall in this season. So yeah, you can just wanted to ask those two things.
Okay, so we can start off by the second last.
Yeah,
You can start off DC with episode 22. Did you liked it? Did you didn't like it, and why?
I like the episode. I think it's mainly because it kind of points every or should I say kind of like what's the term people use for how things move on in the story? I don't know, but it's when everything comes together. Like you understand everything, you understand everything that's been going on. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Personally, I thought that was something in the middle, but I will say this, Cole. Just like you, I thought the first half of season 1 was really rough. The back half was much better. There are still a few rotten pieces for me in the back half, but overall, like the back half was better than the first half. And for me, episode 22, I'm looking at the list, trying to find out episode 22. I remember the episode, but I can't remember where it scales exactly for me. That's the thing. Um, I enjoyed a lot the big fight. Um, that was one of my favorite thing. I always I like Oliver was always my favorite character in the Arrowverse, and he was my favorite show until Stargirl came out and Superman and Lois came out. Um, so when I see him on screen, I'm a bit biased here. It's always a great time. I can't even find episode 22. I see episode 20. Oh, 22 Rock Air. Oh, I remember now. Okay, so for me, in that season, that's one of the episodes in the middle. But in the overall show, it's also in the middle. That's the funny thing. Um, I liked a lot Captain Cold letting the escapees escape. That was very Captain Cold like, double crossing the Flash without really killing him, just telling you owe me, and the criminals also owe him, and that's very Captain Cold like. Each time Captain Cold was there, it did level up the episode a lot. I still think there are a bunch of episodes in the entire show that were better than this, but if you only take season one there, that was a really, really strong episode there. Um, I can see why people say it's the worst, and I can also see why people say it's the best. I'm somewhere in between. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. So now about the action, go ahead, DC. How do you feel about the action overall in season one?
I'll
DC?
start, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'll start. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it has some of the best action scenes, like the tsunami scene in episode 15 and the Barry Oliver Ronnie reverse flash fight in episode 22 as well. The Gorilla Garage fight scenes were great. The battles with Wet Wizard and Captain Cold were amazing. Yeah, I say the fight scenes were really, really good in season one.
yeah, I agree with you. Most of the action was great. I think one of the few things in the first three season, it's very repetitive because all three season had a speedster villain. But even there, even if it's repetitive, I think it's entertaining and it has a lot of good action there. Um, yeah, I think another thing I forgot to mention earlier, another big issue I had with season one, sometimes the humor doesn't land or it just sounds cringe and really bad, but I say that, but the worst humor in season one is better than the worst humor in season 9. That's the funny thing about it. Like, sometimes it doesn't land, but you still feel like they are trying. In season 9, it feels like they're not really trying anymore. They're like, we just throw stuff on the wall, hoping it sticks. And it's sad. And it's one thing that keeps coming back with the Flash later season. The humor is not always on point. Season 1 had issues here and there with the humor. And that's funny because my favorite season 2, I thought had the best humor. The funny stuff always landed for me in season 2. That's the most consistent season of The Flash for me. Tone wise, humor wise, funny stuff, but we are not there yet. Anyway, season 1, this most recent watch I had was my worst watch I had. And that's funny because on that most recent watch, I rewatched the entire show up to season 9, and most of the season were better than what I remembered. And season 1 was actually worse than what I remembered. Uh, that's funny. Like, season 1 and 2, I still believe are the best. But this most recent watch really put everything in retrospective for me. Um, so, yeah, season 1. Except if you guys have closing thoughts, we can move on to the grade we would give to season 1. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Not for me.
And you, Cole?
Yeah, no, that's about it. So I guess ratings, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
me, this is around like a 5.5 out of 10.
oh, I feel you. I feel you. 5.5 for you.
Yeah, no, that is really I mean, again, for my rating system, that's solid to
Yeah,
good.
that's
So
higher
yeah,
than. Well, if anybody else would rank it, it would be higher because you're a bit more strict.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this.
Basically, in other people's rating system, it would be like a 7 out of 10, a
Yeah.
5.5, because
Yeah.
that equals solid for me.
Yeah. And you, DC, what would be your grade out of 10?
Probably an 8 out of 10. I was going for more like a 7 because I realized maybe season 1 has its issues, but I was like, an 8 out of 10.
That's funny. Me too, I would give it a 8 out of 10. And I forgot to mention another issue I had outside of the love triangle and the humor that doesn't always land. A lot of episode felt filler. The perfect example would be episode 3 because it's not a great episode. Episode 5 was. Well, actually, episode 5 wasn't that filler because we had the military and the military come back later for Firestorm and stuff. So, actually, episode 3 is only in the first half, the only episode that is really filler. Um, yeah, like in the back half we had a few filler episodes, but at least the filler episodes in the back half were really good. So for me, 8 out of 10, just like you. And that's funny because I remember my previous watch before that one, I gave like 8.5 ish, maybe 9. But yeah, it got a bit worse because I grow older, more critical and stuff, and I see stuff I wasn't able to see before, and I also see the entire picture with the entire show, and I've also seen like better shows. So yeah, 8 out of 10, The Flash season 1 for me. Um, so I guess now we can move on to the next topic, Superman and Lois, season 3, episode 5. So who wants to start off with the opening thoughts?
I'll start. I thought this was the worst episode of Super and Lois so far, but that does not mean it was bad. It was just I was like, I don't know what to think of this episode. Again, I know that's been my opinion the last couple of weeks, and I don't want to seem that one of those people who just watched the show just to hate on it, because I'm not. It's just I'm trying to watch it for the podcast, but at the same time, the more I thought about it, I don't know what to put my mind on the show,
Yeah,
because with Arrow, The Flash, and The Walking Dead, I can put my mind on as to how I feel. But with Super and Lois is that one show I just don't know how to really feel. Again, this episode was not bad, but it wasn't like incredible either, and that's mainly how I feel about the whole show as a whole.
yeah. Uh, I can see where you're coming from because uh, that's a bit rough for other people, that kind of show, because it's very grounded. It's I feel like it's the most grounded show in the Arrowverse. It's even more grounded than Arrow, even if we speak about an alien and Arrow it's a vigilante. I feel like
Yeah.
the character are much more realistic, and sometimes it can come across as being a bit rough because of that. Um,
I mean, to me, this show is kind of a fluke, though, because the thing that makes the comics and everything and what they're all about, with like Superman being an interesting thing to tell, is how it's basically a god trying to live, along just humans and just small daily difficulties in life and how he's so much more powerful and everything than them. And that's always been the thing. So that just happened. So with Superman and Lois, they honestly didn't. It's not that much of like a drastic improvement in all these areas in comparison to other CW shows that I don't like. It's just that they just happened to be lucky that this type of thing and format with their CW shows works for Superman and Lois, because that's what it's all about. So it's kind of just like a fluke to me. But anyway, this episode was kind of weird. On the one hand, I think it was one of the better made, possibly, and acted episodes from everyone in this episode. Um, on the other hand, this is another episode, sort of like one other episode that kind of happened this season, like episode 3 or something, where it's kind of just a lot of filler or dragging stuff out and rehashing stuff that we already been told and know about, but they do it throughout the whole episode anyway and don't really cover anything new. So it's kind of just me. Like I feel like they could have sped this up a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah. So on that part, I wasn't that into it, but on like a character and like technical and filmmaking front, I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I will say this episode had a small issue for me that I will go over a bit later in the discussion. But I will say this: it was an amazing episode for me. I thought that was one of the best episodes this season. That's probably top three, and that's only because we got five. But um, yeah, that episode is really a standout episode for me. A lot of things are going on, and we get more Bruno Mannheim. That villain is amazing. I like that villain so
Yeah,
much.
I'm really liking the villain.
Yeah,
He is
same.
amazing. Like I can watch an entire spin-off just based on him. Yes, that screen presence, and I already knew the actor from Arrow because the actor that is playing Bruno Mannheim was in Arrow fifth season, my favorite season in the show, and his character in Arrow was decent. He made his job. He did what he was meant to do in Arrow, but I feel like he didn't add enough room to really show his screen presence. Um, but in Superman and Lois, bruh, that screen presence is just amazing. When you see, you just need to see the character, and you're like, that's my boy. He is just amazing. Um, that shows the good writing of Superman and Lois. They are really good at creating these characters that feel really
Yeah,
menacing, you
and
know?
hey, Lois wasn't as annoying in this episode at least.
That's funny because when you say that, I remember all of the discussion I've heard and seen. A lot of people also think she is annoying this season, and a lot of people actually hate Lois in season 2 and 1 as well. But yeah, Lois sometimes come across as being rough. um,
You know what the best way to describe her character? I don't know if any of you have actually seen. I don't know if the comparison will work because I don't know if you guys have seen the Walking Dead show.
I've seen it.
he's a huge fan.
Yeah, it's like Lori. No, not Lori. What's her name? Is that her name, Lori? It's the mother
Lori,
of like this son.
Lori, Lori. Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, is that the name of like the mother character of Carl?
Yeah, yeah, that's the character's name. Yeah,
Yeah,
Lori.
yeah, that's literally the equivalent of Lewis.
So, I guess now we can dive deep into it. I know Cole mentioned a few of his issues and a few of his likes already, so I will let DC keep going. What were your issues, DC?
Um, so starting off, I felt like Lois walking around Bruno Mannheim's lab or medical facility, I thought was ridiculous. Like even more ridiculous than in Gotham Knights, where they just opened the trucks and nobody found it. This one, I think, was more ridiculous because you're in a public, you have something attached to you, and nobody would see you or notice that there's something going on. I find that ridiculous. This episode focused more on romance, which granted is not an issue, but I mean when you're in that air phase where you want to find someone romantic, and I think that was one issue I personally had, but I mean I don't consider that like a main issue. But I mean, I think one issue I had was it was not that Superman focused, which I even then I still had some problems with because, well, I mean, this show is called Superman and Lois, and I think Superman wasn't like 30% of the episode, which I think was another issue. Another issue was I feel like Clark learning about how strong cancer really is kind of made me wonder how long he's actually been on Earth because granted, yeah, at a young age when I was at a young age, I didn't know a lot of stuff, but over time I've grown to know. Um, but I feel like Clark or Shooting, who's like an adult, should know about how strong cancer is.
Well,
Um,
I will
Uh,
already
I
defend
mean,
this. Well,
I will
actually,
defend that as
okay,
well.
okay. So start off, Cole. Start
Oh,
off with
okay,
how
here's
you
the thing.
defend it.
I think he realizes like how like the survival rate, how deadly like the disease is to an extent, but the thing that I think he kind of misunderstands and I think is actually very realistic, what a lot of people don't realize until they get it, unless they get it or somebody they know gets it and watches, is just is how is the effects, and how hard they see them struggling, and also the treatments, how extreme it is to try to cure it, like radiation and chemotherapy, how much
mm,
work and pain and shit goes into it. And I think that's actually pretty realistic. Like a lot of people just see cancer as like, yeah, it's very deadly, but it's just like coffin and such, lose your hair, survive or die, done. But there's a lot that in the treatment and behind the scenes with people trying to eat it that a lot of people, even adults, do not realize. So I think that's pretty
mm,
realistic to me.
mm,
I will expand on that. I fully agree 100% with everything you said, but I will also expand on that. Personally, I don't know any close person from me that had cancer or that died from cancer. Well, actually, my great grandmother died from cancer, but she also kind of died from old age because she was really old and sick. So she was kind of like in between where she could not get much treatment and she was in pain and she died. But that's many years ago. But anyway, me personally, like close one for me, they didn't really got cancer at lowest age, for example. So I didn't lose anybody from cancer, but I do know someone with whom I used to work with that got cancer. He defeated cancer once and he got it again. And this is the kind of things you're not aware if you haven't experienced it with people around you. Like the first time he got cancer, I was worried that he would die. Even if we were not that close, I was like, man, that must be rough and stuff. And the guy wasn't able to do much with his life anymore because of the chemo and stuff. And um, furthermore, like when I heard that he had a relapse and he got it again, I was like, wow, that's the kind of thing that really happened. Like sometimes you really win, but the fight is not really over. Uh, so it's really realistic the way the show depicted it because in real life you don't really know until you know. It's just not a thing. Like I thought I knew, but I didn't, and I'm an adult, and
Yeah,
I always knew it was dangerous, but I never had really a good picture of how bad it can be for the person that receives the
yeah,
treatment.
mm,
like a lot of people don't realize to the extent it is. They just think of it as just by percentages and stuff. They don't actually think about like the shit they go through, like
And the
visually.
relapse and stuff,
Yeah,
and
that
how
too.
hard it can be for everyone
Yeah,
around
there are
them.
so many people like, and after knowing people who got it, or seen celebrities who got it and beat it, but then got it again, such as like Furious Pete and Alex Trebek, rest in peace there. And they get it, can get it multiple times, many times. Like there's people who beaten it like 8 times. Like it doesn't just go away once usually.
and and and,
uh,
and, and you feel powerless. You see that happening to the person, and you're like,
Yeah, it's
I
like
will
you're
leave.
Superman, but you can't do shit.
Why? Yeah, yeah. That's the charm of it, and I think that's the strength of this season is even if you're the most powerful being on Earth, there's stuff you cannot deal with. It's not always about physical strength or pressure and muscle. Sometimes it's more mental and psychology and stuff. And this is why I think this season has been amazing so far, because they show you that some warfare are more about the brain than the brawn. And it's just well done. Now, even if it's well depicted in the show, that was actually my issue. The clinic, I thought that the pacing in the clinic was a bit off. When everyone was sharing their story, I understand why they were doing it. I feel like the writer of the show, they know how sensitive this topic can be on people, so they really wanted to address it in a respectful way. So that's why they did that. And can it be executed better? Maybe. Maybe if you trim down a little bit that whole scene, or if you only get like two story instead of three, because we basically had three stories. Someone that goes through for the first time, someone that realized, and someone that basically died from it. Like, maybe cut down on the number of stories. I don't know, but I feel like the pacing was a bit off here in the clinic. That was actually my only big issue there. Okay, so yeah, you can keep going with your issues, DC.
Hmm.
If you had any other issues,
I
uh,
don't think any other. I
you
don't think I
don't
have any other.
you don't have any other issue?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, so Cole is away for a few seconds. So with that being said, I guess now we can move on to the stuff we liked and the breakdown of the episode and how good was that. Starting with you because Cole is not there. What would be the things you enjoyed?
I enjoyed the Sarah Lana storyline again. Honestly, I feel like that's like the one storyline I'm always enjoying. I'm like, just why call the show Sarah and Lois when you can call it Sarah and Lana? Because for me, it's the Sarah and Lana storyline is like the best part.
Yeah.
Other I enjoyed. Hmm. Bruno Mannheim, as always, I think the actor does a really, really good job and makes him really intimidating. Um, what else?
What's funny about Renault Mannheim? Even if he doesn't beat you down, you know he can.
Yeah, yeah,
He doesn't beat you down, but you can feel the pressure on your shoulder. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Any other things you liked?
Not that I don't think so.
You didn't like the fight with Superman and the other guy that could face through things.
No, because it kind of came way too late.
You did caught yourself at way too late. DC.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
So you said it came way too late. So
yeah, yeah. Because most half the episode was about romance and that late fight scene between Suran and Phasing guy kind of came way too late for me.
okay. Uh,
And also, another thing I just remember was the Bizarro stuff, which I'm not sure how I feel about that because I mean I get bringing back old villains like the Flash and Arrow have done it with some of their side villains in their early seasons, but they never really brought back a main villain. Well, apart from Arrow when they used Deathstroke, but I feel like Sir and Lois, I don't know what to think of it. I mean, because I feel like I mean, what I'm saying is I don't know what to think of them bringing back Bizarro because
yeah.
I feel like his character arc was kind of finished with the Ali Allison storyline, but I mean one reason I think season 3 of Arrow worked better than this one is with when they brought back Deathstroke was because they actually gave the storyline in season 3 with her becoming Speedy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
So to Superman and Lois defense, I know you have only seen reviews and stuff, so you still know what happened in season 2, but you haven't really watched it. Uh, Bizarro in Superman and Lois second season wasn't really a villain. It was more of an anti-hero. The villain were really like the previous general at the DoD and Ali. And basically, Bizarro was like a more extreme version of Superman. It was just a guy that wanted to stop Ali by any means necessary, so he would kill people. And if you F him around, he will kill you. But he wasn't really a villain at all. So I think what's interesting is what they will do with him. Like in season 2, he was more of a gray version of Superman. He was just wanting he was he wanted to save people even if it meant to kill. So that's why he was different than Clark, and that's why they were adversaries at some extent, and they fought each other. But at some point, they did team up together until he got basically killed um, by the general that was just another really stupid uh, villain. But in the end, that general was more of an anti-hero as well because of the way he went out. But anyway, um, what I think they want to do with Bizarro is to showcase what if the heroic part is gone and we only have a monster that wreak havoc. I think that's what they want to do with Bizarro this time around. And if they do that, it will be very interesting because that won't be the same character at all, and that will contrast with Superman. And maybe I've heard that theory about maybe Bizarro becoming Doomsday. So that could be a very creative and interesting way to have Doomsday around. Is to use him as
Mm.
some kind of vessel and stuff. So I think this
My
is
bad
what they
there.
want to do. So Cole, you're back. What would be your likes, Cole, since you're back?
Kind of said for this episode, kind of said them, but one big thing I really liked was again we talked about the intro and all that, but another thing is the acting and characters in this episode. Well, I would have liked it if they touched on maybe sped it up a little bit with certain things because I feel like they kind of. I know they're just kind of like making sure it's not rushed or anything, but I feel like we've kind of been over this already with each character like 3 times now. But nonetheless, the characters and acting in this episode were all splendid. And yeah, the villain was really cool. Again, no issues with that. The directing, no issue with that either. Editing was an improvement for sure. So now, when it comes, there's not really much else because honestly, I would say this episode kind of is just all about those things. There's not really like any action this episode. So,
What did you
oh,
think of the fight at the end with the guy that was phasing?
oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. But yeah, that was good to me. But yeah, again, there was again this kind of a bit of like a filler episode again, just like one other episode this season to me, but it was really good. Uh, I don't have much else to say outside of that.
So I guess I got the ground now because both of you covered your likes and dislikes. So I enjoyed the opening scene a lot, and I will speak about something that went overall in the episode is the music was very interesting because it's a very serious and dark storyline, and the way they were playing the music, they wanted to let you know there's hope, and I think that's interesting because it's Superman, and they wanted to change the darker tone with the music to make it a bit more hopeful. And it wasn't like happy, cheesy like Flash, but it was more like there's light at the end of the tunnel kind of music. And that's one thing I did notice throughout the episode is the use of music is just really good. It fits the scenes, the moment, and they give uh, hopeful things to characters. Um, so Clark and General scene about dealing with Bruno Mannheim. Um, that was very interesting. Um, we can see the General really care about Lois a lot, and he is snapping a lot at Clark, and it's a bit sad, but I mean, it's the General. And remember last week and probably the previous week, I was saying John Henry Arian is my favorite supporting character. It's still John Henry Arian, but I will add something to this. When the General is around, the General is my second favorite. I will say this: John Henry Aaron and the General Lane are just amazing. They get great material, and they are a great actor. They just level up the quality of the show. This goes back to what I said earlier. In this show, Superman and Lois, we got many characters. We actually got, when we really look into it, we got more character in Superman and Lois than freaking Flash, and probably as much character as Gotham Knights. But there's more than just one character you're like, that's a standout character. I think every character serves a purpose in Superman and Lois, and every character is well written. And yes, sometimes they can come across as an annoying character like Lois sometimes, or Sarah sometimes, but these are human beings. They are more than just character. These are human beings, and you can feel it through the writing. So this is something that comes back in this episode a lot. Um, so the chemotherapy, you can tell it's making Lois tired, giving Superman vibes despite all dark. I already said that. General Lane and Natalie's scene where they were just having a good time. Man, that was touching. You really see that General Lane care about Natalie, and he wants to kind of fix the mess up he did earlier. And I enjoyed that a lot. Lois and Clark teamwork for their investigation. That was really good. General and Jordan scene about safety. Man, that feels like a general talk. And I just like a lot General Lane. He steals the show when John Henry Aaron is not there. General is stealing the show. And it's funny because in season 2, General Lane wasn't there that much because the story didn't need him that much. But this season, I think we got General Lane almost every week, and it makes sense because Lois is sick, so he really wants to be there for the family. So it makes sense that now General Lane is much more around than he used to be. General Lane, man, you stole the show. Jordan and General scene at the dance. I actually forgot that scene. Maybe they had a talk. So next up, Bruno Mannheim telling his story to Lois. Now this is very interesting because they did something similar to Gotham Knight, but this time it's well executed. Remember in Gotham Knight where they keep repeating the kind of same story the same way because they thought you forgot? Here they did something similar. Bruno Mannheim basically explained to Lois why he does that, but he did that to Superman earlier this season. But this time around, he added more to it. It wasn't just the repeat of something he already said. He added new stuff to it. that make you really feel bad for the guy. And I feel like that's the intent. Like, he will change his speech pattern to who he is talking to. When he is talking to Superman, he's speaking about saving people and how Superman doesn't save enough people, and Bruno Mannheim want to save enough people, you know. And when he speak to Lois, a sick person, the focus is more about I want to help others, and I know that struggle, and that struggle, you know, right now is the struggle that drives me to do what I do. And it's very interesting that two different characters get like two different sides of Bruno Mannheim, and this is why he is the so interesting villain. Um, next up, um, next up, Cal and Jonathan side story on the weekend where Jonathan will help out. I guess this is to give Cal some scenes. Uh, that was actually filler, even if I enjoyed it. I see why people can see it's filler. I had a brain fart here. Next up would be General and Natalie's scene after the dance was emotional because she tells the general, I've never kissed someone, I never really had a normal childhood and stuff. And the general is like, he's trying his best to help her out and says, it's normal. Like, guys are teenagers and stuff. Like, it's yeah, it's just a touching moment. Um, Sarah and Junior after the dance was very interesting. Jonathan and Candice was fine. Clark and Lois arguing about going at the dance and stuff was good. The fight versus the weekly villain was amazing. I enjoyed the crap out of it. Um, Sarah trying to be a good friend to the guy that lost his father was very interesting. Clark and Lois scene after the fight. Jordan and General. I feel like every Jordan and General scene were great so far. Where the General wants Jordan to go at the party even if he doesn't have someone to dance with. That was like grandpa like. um, Jordan and Lois dancing was very interesting. Lana closure about some truth that can damage more than healing more. This showcase growth. Lana in season 2 was really annoying with her whole truth and lies are bad, and that was part of why her relationship with Cal ended, and that was part of why she didn't want Superman around right after she learned about Clark double identity. But now you can see that she changed because now she realized that lies sometimes are important to heal. They are not always that bad, you know. Uh, that's some growth for Lana, and that made her very likable there. She got growth. And the Bizarro cliffhanger. Now, because we are there, Cole, I want to have your take. How do you feel about Bizarro coming back?
Uh, I mean, I think they can do it right, but uh, I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of Zorro, but I have confidence this season. That's awesome.
Okay, what do you think they will do with him?
I honestly don't know. I would have to think about that. I genuinely don't know, but what do you think?
Yeah, while you were away, we did talk about it a bit, so I will just repeat some of my bullet point there. Um, I think in season two, he was the anti-hero like, and he wanted to save people by any means necessary, even if it meant killing others. And he was the more extreme Superman, right? And I think they bring him back only to turn him into a mindless monster, just to showcase, yeah, if you have great power, you can do great damage, you know. And I think, well, that's the theory of the community in general. I think,
Well, I mean, that would kind of be like Man of Steel, except if Man of Steel is actually done right.
yeah, yeah. Um, the community theory on him is he will become Doomsday. That's why they brought him back, is to have Doomsday in the show, to give Superman a big physical villain, because we know Bruno Mannheim is the villain for this season, but there's no way he can compete with Superman like physically, even if he enchants himself, like, except if he has like Justice League level power. I don't see Bruno Mannheim being really the focus of a physical fight. He's more of a psychological warfare, and he is more like a John Henry Aaron villain, I think, based on the exchange and stuff. But yeah, I think the community is right on that. Um, Bizarro may end up being Doomsday in the end. So yeah, I think that was a really, really good episode. I enjoyed it a lot. Except if you guys would like to add more to this, I think we can move on to the score. I guess we move on to the score. Starting with DC, what would be your score out of 10?
A 5.
Okay. And you, Cole?
Uh, I'll give it a 6.5.
Okay, and I am the big fan of the show right now because I enjoy it a lot more than the both of you. 9.7 out of 10 for me. I think it's like the third or the fourth. Actually, it's the third episode. I gave 9.7 this season, and I think it's my favorite among these three. So it's probably my second favorite episode this season so far. I enjoy a lot, pretty much every plot we got. It's just very enjoyable. I like it. That's my cup of tea. So I guess now we can move on to Fight Club. So, Fight Club. Who wants to start on that?
I guess I'll start.
Now I see the time, and we can already dive deep into it because
Alright.
we only have like 2 hours remaining. So and a lot of topic remaining. So yeah, you can start DC. What would be your dislikes?
Hmm. I'm guessing it was just a story because of how it turns from this Edward Norton's character, who then transforms into who transforms a Fight Club all the time, and does some really crazy things, like even fights his boss. I don't think I was the biggest fan of this movie because I just feel like, because of one hand, I thought, maybe they're going to go to psychological, what's going on in his brain, like maybe because, at least that's what my brother said when we were watching the movie. Like the guy has like dissociative or schizophrenia, and turns out he doesn't have either of them. And so, yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I guess I didn't like the movie that much, but yeah.
Okay. Outside of that, did you add any other issue?
eh, I don't think so. I guess just the story, which is a huge negative for me.
Okay. So Cole, what would be your issues with Fight Club?
Uh, yeah.
You are a bit
It,
far,
it,
Cole.
sorry. If I had any issues with it, it would probably be possibly maybe some of the cinematography could have been a bit better. I feel, but at the same time, that was kind of like full cinematography in like the 90s or early 2000s for some reason with a lot of films for
Yeah.
some reason it's like they all had the same visual style, and that's part of the reason that and other things of why a lot of people say that old 19 late 1990s to early 2000 films feel the same in a sort of way, but outside of that I don't really have any issues.
Okay, so I got a few here and there. Was the opening monologue meant to be funny? Now, there was a point I'm like, are they trying to be funny? And they tried so hard it failed for me, but that was really early in the movie. That was like one of the few.
I mean, I
Uh,
don't think it was trying to be funny. It was just supposed to kind of put you. It was like it wasn't trying to be serious, but it wasn't trying to be funny either. And I think that's kind of like some of the theme of this film. Like, sure, like some of the things like it wouldn't be realistic to like what somebody working an actual day job would just randomly do. But I don't think it's trying to be like something super realistic. Like to a point, half of it is, and there's a lot of great like things about a lot of great different topics in it, but the other half I think it's more so like a metaphor on what people think about in their minds like doing when they're just they have enough and are frustrated at jobs and stuff, like just thinking about just quitting and doing crazy shit like this in their minds. And the mind thing plays a lot in this film with many different things, with the drug stuff and the
yeah,
the therapy stuff, and then the big twists. But anyway, continue.
yeah. My next issue would be the pacing. There were a few points in the movie where I was looking at the time, I was like, bruh, this drags on. I would have probably trimmed down maybe 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 20. It's between 10 and 20. Um, the next issue would be too much voiceover. I'm not the biggest fan of voiceover stuff, but I feel like they spoon feed us like every single thing they think we may miss because they don't really trust viewer. And sometimes I'm fine with voiceover, um, but I feel like there's just way too much in the entire movie. Like I feel like 50% of the dialogue is just monologue, and I guess that's because it's based from a novel, and they wanted to adapt as much as they could from the novel, but it doesn't translate well for me. Um, so that these are my issues. I still enjoyed a lot of the movie. There's a lot of things to like. The characters are likable, and the big twist in the end of the main character having like dual personality was well handled. I liked it a lot, and there are many
Yeah,
scenes throughout the movie, and it makes sense to reveal, and you're like, oh, that's what's going on,
yeah.
and
Again, that's kind of like the thing David Fincher is known for with his films. He's made some of like the biggest movie twists of all time.
yeah, and the action was good. Uh, the bus scene about self improvement was funny. I can't really remember exactly what happened, but I think one of the part of the movie is self improvement, how you can change and make your life better. Um, I thought most of the time it was funny and it landed well. Um, and it's funny how early in the movie they mentioned that the main character may have set up a fire in his own condo. That's hilarious because at first you're like it cannot be him, but then it makes sense by the end when you realize he has two personality, and one of the two decided to burn the building down. Um, so that's like the kind of seeds they plant throughout the movie, and they just end up being amazing because we get great payoff at the end. There's a lot of things to like about this movie. I think um, the girlfriend character was very interesting. I enjoyed her a lot. I thought the speech about the girl getting laid at the search from the like, remember early in the movie there was a girl with cancer that was like, I want to get laid before I die, and it was in a freaking church. I had a laugh out of it. I was like, bruh, that can be a real struggle when you're dying and you want to fuck one last time. You're like, bro, that's some people may have that kind of thought, you know?
And again, one thing I really liked the film did the whole way through, though, was leading up to the twist. By the way, if you rewatch this film ever, you'll see like in the dialogue with Brad Pitt's character, he's literally like telling you to his face what's going on, but as of on a first watch, you don't understand. But then
Yeah.
when you rewatch it, like he's literally saying it to your face.
Yeah, and in the end, the bar guy, when the terrorist cell is like active and stuff, we get the main character trying to investigate and trying to stop what he thought was his friend, and he meet one of the guy at the bar, and the guy at the bar thinks it's some kind of test and shit, and that's like the first kind of big seed that maybe he has two personality, and one of the
Yeah,
two
well,
is the
again, there's
leader of
many
the gang.
things. There's many things. There's the two personalities things where he's both people. There's many things that involve the mind in this film. There's the drug use again. There's the therapy stuff. There's there's just many different like metaphors, messages in this film, and story arcs that involves like the human mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah,
Yeah, this, yeah,
it's also funny how the group kind of rejected the main character at some point just before the character realized he has two personality. It was like, why everyone knows what's going on and I don't know what's going on, and it's just very well done, I think. And the music throughout the movie was great. Um, it's also about self injuries and stuff. It's
yeah,
really dark, and the tone of the
yeah. And I
movie
love the
doesn't.
gritty style of it.
Yeah, the movie tackles that, like, it's a very dark topic, but they're able to kind of make fun of it without disrespecting it, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
And one of my favorite scene is when the main character is threatening his boss, and he's basically beating himself up to make it believable. That was hilarious. That's a standout. That scene was just priceless. I think I would just rewatch the scene just because after that he gets what he wants, and that comes back to like uh 2023. In 2023, some people threaten, and they can be smart about it and win just because they were smarter than the other one. That's just wow. um so yeah, this movie was really good. uh I don't have much more to say there. Like, look, I wrote down a lot of notes, but I feel like I just repeat myself here and there. We covered pretty much everything. I really enjoyed it. So, what would be your grade, Cole, out of 10?
Yeah, this it's a I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. This and Seven, and then one other film. I mean, again, he's made many great ones, but those two, and then one other that we'll get to later called The Social Network are basically kind of the three films that he's most known for that are considered his best. So yeah, and yeah, just it is incredible with these type of films, and yeah, I was really into this. But yeah,
So, DC, what would be your grade out of 10?
A 5.
Okay. My grade would be a 9 out of 10. In recent days, we had John Wick that had a 9 out of 10. I think I liked John Wick more than this. Uh, and I think I also liked more 7. I think 7 I also gave a 9 out of 10, I think. 7, I liked it more than this. So, yeah, the whole terrorist cell and stuff was also a really good part of this movie. Uh, yeah, um, it was very believable. Anyway, any closing thoughts on Fight Club?
Not for me.
So, this is the start of the roasting session. If you want, you can stick around because that's the roasting session. But if you need to go or if you want to go, you are also free because now we will move on to Titan Season 4, Episodes 7 and 8, and then we will move on to DC's Legends of Tomorrow, 7th season. So,
All right.
are you sticking around to hear the roast or you have to go?
I have to go.
Okay, so thank
All
you
right.
a lot for joining us today again. You are a great co host. We enjoy a lot your presence. You always have
I hope
different
your day goes
insight.
well. I mean, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
what did you say, Cole?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to like talk while you were talking. I was just trying to say, yeah, I hope your day goes well because I know it was, you're having, said you're
Yeah, yeah,
having a rough time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope things will get better for you, DC. You deserve happiness. Everyone deserves happiness. So I hope you enjoyed your night, man. We enjoyed having you around. I think that was another great stream here. So we will post the topics for the next few weeks. And with that being said, thank you very much for being with us today. And is there anything you would like to plug, videos, streams, or stuff that are going on your channel?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. So with that being said, man, have a great night, DC, and take care, man.
Same. Thanks and same. Bye.
Bye. So, Cole, here we are. Roasting session. Titan, season 4, episode 7. Now,
Nice.
we are there because I got you backstory. You know, you marked down 8 and 9. At first, I didn't realize they released 2 episodes. I thought that was only one, and on my website, they always give the latest episode. So, I thought we only had one episode, and I was like, oh, let's go watch episode 8. We are already in episode 8. The season is almost over. And then when the episode picked up, I was like, did I miss something? And
Yeah.
then,
So I might have got the episode number wrong, and that's why I was gonna repost the thing anyway, but I forgot to on time. But
yeah.
yeah, there were two
So,
episodes.
so I've seen the entire 8 episode, and I was like, yeah, that was actually one of the best episodes we got so far. And then this weekend, there was a podcast I really enjoyed that inspired me on making our podcast. That's the After Party with Eric's Reloaded, a content creator I respect a lot and I enjoy a lot. And they basically cover comic book stuff like us. And one of the topic was Titan because it was back. And he said we have 2 episodes of Titan this week. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? There was a second one,
I
so this
mean,
means we we had 7 and 8 this week. So I've seen
yeah, well,
7.
I did type 7 and 8.
I've basically seen 7 after I watched 8. So I messed up the order there, and
Okay.
this didn't help at all. Episode 7, like it damaged it even more. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
this for me, this was I really hated these two episodes personally because number one, they did not need to be two episodes. They could have been one episode together.
yeah.
And secondly, I could not stand the characters in these two episodes. They were so unbearable. Like again, I never liked the Titans characters anyway, but specifically in these two episodes, I really hated them. I can't tell if it's because after taking the break from Titans now with it being on break, I forgot how bad it was, but good lord. And the actions and shit sucks. The writing sucks. And again, just the way it's filmed suck. There are just like the one episode you talked about that was like your least favorite of all time in Titans, like that agency episode. There are moments in this where it's like it looks like they dropped the camera on accident while filming it. They kept it in. This is just. And again, I hate the costume design in this show, and it sucks here again. Hate the editing. Yeah. Once again, the only big positive I really have for this is some of the lighting is good. That's all. I'm not. I did not. Really hated these two episodes.
So I will say this before we dive deep into it. Um, I already said it, but I will repeat myself. I've seen episode 8 before episode 7, and I understood what was going on with 8. I just thought there was a few missing things. And after I took a look and watched episode 7, I was like, bruh, this is so bad. Oh my. I was crying there. I was like, bruh, how can you be so bad, bro? Episode 8 is so good. Episode 7, do better. Um, so I guess now we can dive deep into it. Um, so episode 7, my dislikes. Jinx really died. Hard to believe since people keep dying and coming back in the show. Another world-ending threat. The pacing was bad, and the forced relationship between Bernard and Tim Drake. They don't have chemistry. They don't make sense. It's not believable.
None of them do. So yeah.
It's not believable. It's probably two straight actors that play gay character, and they basically don't get along, or I don't know, man. It just doesn't work well.
No, it's actually like if you take a bunch of aliens from another planet, from different planets, and try, putting them together and thinking that we'll have good chemistry. Anyway, this is just. Oh lord.
And they character assassinated Bernard in the same episode. At first, Bernard is like, we should just be friends, but then they F around at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
So what was the one thing you said after you said hard to believe that Jinx is dead forever? What was the one thing you said?
Another world-ending threat. Like, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that. Okay, so I have to say, anytime that shit happens, I don't even realize it's a world-ending threat because they make such a zero impact on me.
Yeah.
On actually making it feel like world-ending. It just feels like fucking up an order at a fast food place. That's how threatening it is.
It's annoying because freaking Umbrella Academy did it for 3 seasons. I feel like Titan did it for 3 seasons as well. Oh, actually 2 seasons. Season 2 wasn't about world-ending threat. It was much more psychological stuff. But man, Titan. Trigon was shit in season 1. Why did you brought him back? I mean, why? And this is funny because we had Sebastian Blood in Arrow season 2. And Brother Blood was better in Arrow season 2. Just like Slade in Arrow season 2. Deathstroke was better in Arrow than Titan. And it's sad because I feel like Titan, they do something interesting, but the writing is so bad, and all of the other supporting character are so bad. I think Sebastian Blood in Titan is well played by a actor that is invested in the role, and he is believable. He is a really good villain, but his mother is godly terrible. His mother is just, I hate the mother character. The mother character is the worst thing this season. It's funny how Gar Beast Boy is nowhere to be seen, and he only get mentioned at one point in episode 7. They're like, yeah, he is somewhere else. Okay, great. Uh, and by the way, there's a bright side to it. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Based on what I've heard, episode 9 is the Stargirl crossover. So next week should be actually better if they handle her character correctly. Um, because yeah, there is the crossover. So yeah, episode 7 wasn't that great. There's still few things that are decent. Connor nature of like trying to handle things by himself instead of relying on the team. And at Starfire dying to save everyone. And Raven, I guess she got her power back. What was the point of taking her power away? I don't get it. There was no point of it. The old lady, the crazy old lady, was interesting. So yeah, that's it. This episode was really bad. Um, I didn't like at all episode 7. What would be your grade out of 10 for episode 7?
Episode 7 is like a 1 out of 10 for me.
Now, this is funny because based on my way of taking away points, it was the 8.5 out of 10. However, there's a big however to this. I look back at the episode and I'm like, this episode is not worthy of that. It wasn't good. I didn't like it. So I took away 2 points for filler. So it dropped at 6.5 out of 10. And it dropped another point for the pointless relationship crap. And it dropped to 5.5 out of 10. So Tim Drake and the fact that that episode is filler made it really rough. This episode is unwatchable. If I rewatch the show, I will skip this shit.
Yeah.
It's a 5.5 out of 10 for me as a final score for this episode, and I feel like I'm being generous because 5.5
You're
for me.
being way too generous. That was a garbage episode.
For me, 5.5 is like the equal of bad. 6 is mediocre, but 5 it's bad. So that was bad, but man, viewer experience wasn't that great. I feel like I'm just shitting on the show, but yeah. So episode 8 was actually a great episode, and I was shocked because you know me. I defended the show the best I could for the first 3 seasons. It's not perfect, but I can still find some enjoyment. I still think there are some good episodes. The overall show is not that good, but there are some individual
The
good
overall
episodes.
show is bad for me, but
Yeah.
this episode I still didn't like either. Like maybe I was just not in the mood because I watched episode 7 and episode 8 back to back, and the first was pure garbage. But and you didn't watch episode 7 before it, but it was while it was an improvement, it still was just, in my opinion, terrible. Again, it had all the issues with the characters and filmmaking and everything, and it was just unpleasant to watch. It was just boring. I didn't care about anything I saw, and I was just waiting for it to end.
So yeah, that summarized well your idea. So I will say this: this is funny how I was invested with this episode. Maybe it's because it came back from a break. I don't know. My only issue I had was people can't freaking aim. That's the most frustrating things. If
Now,
you
the anytime multi-topic says people can't freaking, then you know exactly what he's gonna say afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's always goes the same way. You're like, people can't freaking. It's like, oh, I wonder which world's gonna come next.
Aim, aim.
Well,
Don't give them gun if they cannot kill anybody with the guns.
hey, give them some water guns to practice.
Bruh. I ate that. I ate that. Like, I'm rolling my eyes. It's like, you. Okay, give them knives! Give them knives! It makes sense if you miss someone with a knife! Bruh. Okay, so episode 8, I liked it a lot. The opening scene, I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I didn't know there was a 7th episode at that time, so I was like, oh, that's weird. I guess that's interesting. They are kind of brainwashed and stuff. The music was decent. Raven and Sebastian exchange about being used by their mothers. It's a good reflection of season 1 storyline, and that feels real and interesting. After the dinner, the explanation on what's going on, people getting brainwashed and stuff. Tim Drake investigation on what's going on with Corey. Uh, Dig background training with Bruce. That felt like a Batman moment here where Bruce taught to Dick Grayson how to counteract like brainwashing and stuff. Uh, I thought some of the things in that episode were funny. The painful memories were interesting. The fight in the church was good. The Titan leaving the dream world, Connor joining Sebastian. There's not that much to like. I will be honest. Like, there's a lot of things that went on. I didn't care about. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I just didn't care. Um, that means a lot, you know. So I guess because I don't have much more to say here, uh, we can move on to the grade for episode 8. What would be your grade out of 10?
2.
So this one is a 9.7 for me because I only had one issue, and that's a nitpick. There's a lot of things I didn't care about, but I think this was probably the best episode we got this season. I say that because I could not find my notes on previous episode because that was like 4 months ago. So yeah, my guess is that was my favorite episode this season. That's telling a lot because a lot of things I just didn't care at all. So yeah, that's Titan in a nutshell. I think the show is just fine. It's not because you got one good episode that the show is good. No, no, no. You need more than just that for me to work and yeah, and be good, you know. Any closing thoughts on Titan?
No, this is just so boring. I can't wait for it to end. And also, I'll just say one thing. Unless unless you want to cover it earlier or save something else for last, I'm just gonna say right now. I did later, after the stream last week, watch them and catch up on them and like revisit them. But the same way how with Aliens and Alien 3, sadly wasn't able to, like, I've already seen them, but revisit them on time to have like a fresher memory on
Okay.
it to say a lot about it. The same thing happened this week with both Predator films, which I'll rewatch after the stream. But because of that, yeah. So because of that, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm probably not gonna say much about them outside of just my enjoyment for them and stuff, or what, some nitpicks and stuff. So if you rather save those till last because they'll be shorter topics, or to do them next, then yeah.
I what we could do is the roasting session for this season, Agents of Tomorrow, season 7, and because I've just seen the Predator like today and yesterday, We
No,
can.
I remember the whole films. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like, I don't have a refresher, so
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm not gonna say as much about them
Okay.
as other ones. So I'm saying it. What I'm saying is, if
Okay.
you would rather, which one would you rather go about this with the topics next? Would you rather, uh, because those two, would you rather, uh, talk about the game or Legends of Tomorrow ones that I'll talk about more last, or would you rather
We
have the shorter topics last?
Predator. We will keep it for the end of the stream.
Okay,
So
that will work. That
yeah.
will work.
So
Okay, good.
now it's about Legends of Tomorrow, the next topic, and then the game.
Okay,
So
Legends of Tomorrow. Okay, this is good.
yeah, Legends of Tomorrow. I'm excited to hear you about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Roasting session.
So after season 6, I was ready to give this a 1 out of 10 and call it trash. Then yeah, then I watched it though, and it actually really surprised me. And you know, first things first, the directing is actually amazing in this episode. It's well, not sorry. In about, I would say, half of the episodes, the direction is really amazing, and then the costume design really upped the scale in the season. The story was pretty great. I really loved the characters and their difficulties, and the editing was really good. Okay, I can't. I'm sorry. I tried pretending to like it and then giving it like an 8 out of 10 rating at the end and then saying, "Nah, I'm just joking. Here's my real opinion." I genuinely can't. My mind's stopping me from doing so. I have to stop there. I can't joke around with this fucking season. This is garbage. Every episode of this is garbage. There's not one thing I liked about this. This is the worst one I've seen. This is pure garbage in every way. But there was one thing. There was one good thing.
What?
Do you want to know what my one positive with it?
What was your one positive?
Knowing that there's no more episodes left of the show.
Oh, I'm
I
on board with
went
you
to the
actually.
I went to the convenience store after I watched the last episode of this season, and I bought a bottle of wine and drank it. The show's over. I'm so happy.
Let's celebrate.
Um, so I mean, if you would want to know like what out of the garbage 1 out of 10 episodes of this 1 out of 10 from start to finish show would be like the least garbage out of all of them, it would probably for me at least it would either be episode 10 or episode 3. But that and then for the worst ones for me it would be either episode 2 or I'd say probably episode uh, 9.
You know, I laugh really hard at it. Is episode 10 the humanoid android where it's basically the episode centered about around the droids?
Yeah, it's the evil AI, and I was laughing, so that's one of the better episodes out of the garbage ones.
I'm on board with you. Episode 10 was great. Episode 3 was great. I actually like both. Generally like both. These are the only
Yeah,
two good episodes that
those were the
season.
least garbage. Yeah, those are the least garbage ones. Those were had some non-garbage things about them, and then the rest is just it's all garbage.
Stop lying. I know you like the TV reality shit. I know you liked it when they were like in TV reality crap. I know you liked it.
Yeah, you know, when I was saying episode 2 and episode 9 for my least favorite, I was actually going to say episode 8 instead of episode 9, but then I remembered episode 9 was that one. So then I changed it to that. they're not even trying with like these. Looking at this IMDb page to refresh my memory, like after watching them because they were so garbage and forgettable, they're not even like trying with these titles. They literally just titled one "Rage Against the Machines." That's literally not even like a play on something. That's just Rage Against the Machines. What the band? That's actually just the name of the fucking band.
I think you caught up,
They've
bro.
they've they've given up.
They've given up. I agree, 100%.
Yeah, like and the need for speed. You just added a the to change up the title from Need the Speed to something else. You
the
literally didn't even try.
the bullet blunts.
Ah,
This season was so bad. Now I will say this: I actually like that season much more than 6, 5, and 4, but it's nowhere near as good as season 3. Um, my issues with this season, the dialogue, the eye rolling moments. I feel like this season was a lot about we ate men and women the best. I'm all in for female empowerment. I think it's important. It's important equality and stuff. It's very important. But there's the thing: you cannot really elevate you by trashing others. You just show people you're insecure and you need everyone to be worse than you for you to be the best. And it's really sad. And yeah, that's all I feel about this season of Legends. They really trash men so much. Like, outside of the main cast, pretty much every man are scum and trash, and it's sad. Um, and even there, like Gwen Davies, the new character played by Matt Ryan, the same actor that played Constantine. Um, Even him, I like the performance in the character and all. He wasn't a man that was manly, you know. He was insecure. He wasn't a strong man, you know, and that's fine because you don't always need everyone to be strong men, but you get every woman to be as strong as they can be, but then you have that man that is not really manly. Do you know what I mean? And it's it's a bit sad. I like the actor and the character was fine, but balance things out. Uh, in the cast, we also had Nate, but Nate was turned into a joke. In recent season, like season 7, season 6, Nate was a watered down version of what he used to be. Even season 5, I think the last good season for Nate was season 4, and that tells a lot about Nate because season 4 was terrible. And what other men do we have in the squad? I can't remember. Ray's gone. Oh, Barad. Barad, man. Barad is forgettable. I can't even remember. I can't even remember what Barad had going for him this season. Barad is just forgettable. He's Dollar Store freaking Ray Palmer. He's like the stoner in the group. I'm like, bro, Legends went so bad. It makes me so sad because I really liked the first 3 seasons of the show, but it went really bad after that. It's sad. There's no other word. It's sad. There's like, it's nah. Um. So I think this season should be a 4.5 out of 10. I say that because I think overall it tried to do something different than the other season, and I will give them credit for that. And I liked Gwen Davies, Matt Ryan new character, even if he could have been better. I enjoyed him still, regardless. Maybe it's a bias because I like the actor. Um, But yeah, this season had some great moments, but it also had like terrible episode here and there. And I feel like Mick being gone really feel like there's something missing. It's not as funny as what it used to be. Mick really brought some funny stuff. It was hilarious, and he's gone. I think he was the most manly man on board, and they got rid of him in season 6. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
feel about that season. Uh,
Yeah, this is just for me. This is a for my rating probably. Yep, I'll just give it a 1 out of 10.
I feel you. I can see where you're coming from. I thought that was better than season 5, 4, and yeah, 5, 4, and 6, because the tone was more balanced. It had great moments, as I said. Season 7 is an improvement for me, but it's still not good. They need to trash the men to make the woman better, and that just shows you're insecure with your woman, you know? And you don't need to, because Eva was amazing in the third season. She was fine in season 4, I guess. But Eva went downhill fast. Astra was great in season 5, but she went downhill fast in season 6. I feel like they cannot keep the momentum they have. They give one good season to the character, and then it goes downhill for that character. And and the new, like, Zeri, the new Zeri is still the main Zeri, and that's another issue I got. I really hate that Zeri. She's not as bad as what she was in season 5, but I still cannot stand that character. Um, Spooner, I don't really care about her. Um, so yeah, I guess this season ends on a cliffhanger, and we will never get an answer, and I don't care.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It deserves because I feel that at this point the show has think back on season 1, episode 1, the setup, and then think about what the show just turned into. It's like, do you even remember what the point of the show was supposed to be? Or is
That
this just like it's like it just turned into The Simpsons?
it
Just
turned
in
into The Simpsons, bro.
Yeah, it's just
But it's bad.
an infinite chamber. It's just an infinite chamber of repeating episodes now of and for infinity. So you know what? It deserves to be canceled because now it's just in the void where it's just gonna keep having the characters go through these same things over and over again without an ending.
Yeah,
Just like how the show, just like that's exactly what the show turned into. So, no, no
and
story, just characters doing whatever.
and it's funny because Win Davies, probably the best part of this season, was the fifth time someone wants to change the past to have a better future. It's like every season they get that character. We need to fill that void. This time around, that will be Win Davies. Like, okay, whatever. The first time was fine. The second time was fine, but the third time I was kind of pissed. The fourth time, that was bad. The fifth time, oh my, that's terrible. Again, why? Give me something new. I am so tired to watch the same crap again and again and again and again. Anyway, that's season 7 in a nutshell. For me, that was the best season since season 3, but it's still bleeding of issues. And um, I remember giving 4.5 out of 10 to other shows like Supergirl second season. I think Supergirl second season was better than this crap. Um, what else? Um, The Flash season 5 was actually worse than this, and we will get at it once we cover that. But I know DC will disagree with that because I know DC likes a lot the fifth season. Um, but yeah, that was rough. Anything else to add to DC's Legends of Tomorrow?
This is over. focus on just watching the Flash, and I never thought I would say that, but in comparison to this,
You're glad
okay.
this is over. I am feeling you, man. It's not a good show. Um,
Yeah, unfortunately though, after the Flash, we're gonna have to do Batwoman and Supergirl, which
well,
I'm sure Supergirl will.
Supergirl won't be right away. Eventually, we will get to it. But as I keep saying a lot, I think
Arrow.
we will try to match Supergirl with the movie release, a bit like the Flash. So we will eventually cover Supergirl for sure, but it's not right here, right now on the corner. There's still time, you know. But Batwoman is terrible, so that will be something else to roast soon. um, so yeah, I guess now we can move to the game. So what did you think of the game?
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. So this is a film that this was the one and only David Fincher film that when we started doing this project, one of them, along with Rocky franchise now and others that we'll be doing. That I didn't actually see yet, and the reason why was because it looked boring
Oh, you
on the
haven't seen
cover.
the game, did you?
Well, wait,
You,
what?
you didn't see the game, or you have seen it?
Oh no, I'm saying this is the only David Fincher film that before we started doing the project of watching all of his films, that I didn't see beforehand.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, and the reason why was because it just looked the title, the premise, the poster, and everything just looked and the year and the popularity and ratings. It just seemed like it would be a meh film to me, not anything interesting or It seemed like it would be good, just not anything special like his other films. Really, well, the majority of them at least. I thought it'd be not. It only in three will always be his weakest, but I thought it'd be probably his second or third weakest with along with Panic Room, which we'll get to and such. But and I mean, it still might be one of his. It still is one of his weaker ones, though, in comparison to others, just because his filmography is so great. Um, but damn, this really surprised me. I thought this was an excellent film when I watched it, and this kind of sums up David Fincher as a director. He makes films and he does that shit where it catches you off guard, like you go into it like that, thinking that with how it looks, and also just I'm watching like the beginning of it, like the first 20 or so minutes of it, thinking that it won't be anything too special or too crazy, and it'll be pretty grounded and such. Like especially with the actors he used, who are usually in just a lot of grounded drama stuff, such as Wall Street, such as Michael Douglas, but then he just fucking blows your mind. Like, there's a reason why people call, he's basically the definition of don't underestimate the screenwriter, and this is why I really enjoyed it, and it really clicked with me pretty much. Now, a lot of people, now there's a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, sorry, but there are some people who tried saying that it seems the one thing they don't like about it is that the character seems pretty surface level, like with his issues and stuff, and that by the end of it, it's like, okay, sure, he now realizes these type of things, but they're pretty basic things that any human being should know, or that he barely even really changed much anyway. He just, the very basics of, yeah, don't be a fucking rich asshole to people. Here's the thing, though. I mean, well, first and foremost, I think there's that's kind of underestimating some of it. I don't think that was just the equivalent of it. I think I think there was a lot more to it with his character and with his family life, more so instead of just like basic things like that. But secondly, I don't think that was the point of the film. Because here's the thing: I think David Fincher knew that those messages and stuff, and with like the rich versus like the class thing, has been done a billion times and is cliche and predictable. And when I watch this film, that's not really what he does to me. I don't think he does that because I think he realizes that and doesn't do it. What I got out of this film is sort of like, instead of just being some like message like that about like the billionaires and stuff, it's just going for a mystery thriller, modern day millionaire version of a sort of like Scrooge, A Christmas Carol types of story, where you just experience the change the character goes through, and with his version of constant nightmares from like ghosts, seeing things, flashbacks, and glimpses of his life. With you experiencing it all, experiences his changes throughout the runtime in a similar way, but in a non paranormal and in a modern version, instead of a film where instead of a film where you're supposed to connect with him. That's what I got out of it, at least. And I was disappointed at first that the film didn't do more of those like kind of small puzzle things after the scene with the clown doll. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it, though. Just like any David Fincher film, it really you underestimate it. Like you watch it and everything, you're thinking, and you see the actors and the story it's going for and the visuals, and you're thinking, okay, so this is going to be like a small scale average story with a low budget, with like the title, poster, setup, cast, tone, music, cinematography, etc., which will at most result in him doing maybe some like weird red room snuff type things, and also explaining his father's death at a certain point in the film. Maybe revealing like that somebody killed him or something, and then tackling his privilege and wealth. But then it keeps blowing you away with the scale of it all, and it keeps making you think different things. Like it keeps bamboozling you so many times. It's like it makes you think a certain thing with a character, and then it starts happening, so you're like, "Ha, I called it." But then it does something else that just blows you away, and it keeps doing that throughout the entire film. And I thought it's great. Now I won't go into who else much. I've said a lot, so I won't go into too much more. But there's just one thing I want to really say though, and that's there's some people that might say a big flaw with the film is that it seems a little unrealistic for all this stuff to be choreographed
Yeah.
properly without anything going wrong. And what I say to that is I would disagree with how the film did it, and I'll say why. Because number one, this guy is extremely. He has like 600 billion they have, or trillion. So they have enough money and to like clear areas and just have actors and shit where they can make this stuff happen. And secondly, they explained it in the film, but when and they showed scenes where he already did it, where he'll not believe a certain character, and he'll like walk away when they're trying to lead him to doing certain stuff. So then they'll get another character in there, like his brother or something, to then replace somebody that he'll trust more, or put him in a different scenario. Like they do this throughout the film, so to eventually get him from point A to point B in each scene. So it might seem like a little far fetched that they can pull this all off, but with all that in mind and how the film explains it, there it really isn't. There's only one thing. There's only one loophole I found in this film with that whole thing, and that's one part of the ending. All right, and that's the fake suicide scene. All right, it's not.
Fell from a
It's not that
building, bro.
the location. Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's not the location that's far fetched right there, because I mean they closed off the other areas of the building, of the rooftop, if you saw it properly, and perfectly placed that there, where that was the only way for him to jump off and commit suicide after thinking he just shot his brother. So, and then they said obviously they were going to throw him off if he didn't jump off himself. So that part isn't far fetched. The part that's far fetched is the risk they would take with that, because he, again, in his mind, he's done for, and right. So, but it doesn't. A lot of people wouldn't just think they're about to like land on a cushion on their back safely. A lot of people would just fuck it and go head first, which through the glass and then onto the cushion and on the ground. That can be dangerous. You could die from that. So and plus with again with the area he's fallen from, with how the air and velocity works, he wouldn't like go away from the landing point. That's actually realistic. He would stay in that area perfectly and fall right there. But once again, so that part isn't far fetched. The far fetched part of that is again how he lands, because usually when you're falling like that, you're not going to fall back first, usually. Sometimes you will, like we've seen it before with the 9/11 jumpers, like it can happen, but at a lot of other points, it's usually you're going head first. So, yeah, so overall, that part is just a little risky there, but outside of that, though, there's really no other loopholes with it, and considering that, and with all the work they put into it to make sure there's no other loopholes in any other areas for me, and everything the film does, that is one thing at the end there where I can sort of forgive it for what it does, but yeah, I just have that small issue there. This was literally just a troll film. Like they, that this was a complete like prank troll film by David Fincher to the audiences. Like he literally says it's a birthday surprise, a birthday gift at the start with the character and in the premise of the film, and then it ends up being literally that by the end of it. Just that, like this is actually a big troll. Oh fuck! But anyway, yeah, I thought this was excellent. Anyway, so yeah, your turn. I guess I'm done now.
Okay, so I by the end I was really wondering if it made sense, but I suspended disbelief by the end with the wall falling and stuff, because I was like,
Yeah, again, the
it's
fallen
part of the
aspect, there's
game.
loopholes there, and with it being dangerous. Everything else involved in the game, though, with what I explained, it works. And
Yeah,
if stuff doesn't go properly, or that the character doesn't do certain things, or slips up, then they have backup plans for that, as they showed in scenes, because it happened throughout scenes, or him not trusting certain people or certain things, and then switching to somebody else that he would trust. So it overall works, but it's just that one thing at the end there that can be a little dangerous if he like landed on his head or something.
yeah. So I had other issues. Now you mentioned a popular issue that I will bring here, and I still stick to it. A lot of plot convenience need to happen for the game to work. Everyone, the main character, meet are involved. Uh, for me, it was too far fetched, a stretch or whatever. It just happens way too much that, oh, these people in the ambulance are working cohort. They are part of the prank. Oh, these cops are part of the prank, and this is part of the prank, and this is part of the prank. Oh, the waitress is part of the prank. Oh, this person is part of the prank. So I'm like, bruh, you need to suspend disbelief
I
so
mean,
much.
if you think about it, though, again, they're $100 trillionaires here, so they have the money to clear areas and pull this off. And you have to think about certain situations, like again, the whole reason the ambulance came and all those, in that situation, and where all the people were a part of it, was because the guy who collapsed in the first place was an actor. So and they didn't call 911 because the ambulance, or sorry, yeah, she called 911 and such. All or the number he had on his phone that they rigged. So that all played out because of that. Like if it was like a non-actor who was like having a heart attack, then they wouldn't just pull up, because again they set it up that way themselves. So it's not far fetched. And the same thing again with the taxi. They made sure the drive to his location before a real taxi would show up,
Yeah.
or they like made sure to close off the area again. So again, to me, it's just that it might seem far fetched, but when you think about it more and more, like if you have trillions of dollars and you can pull this off, and you close off areas, and you have all these actors that you hire doing this stuff, and all your friends and such, and it doesn't seem too far fetched in the end. And again, they show in scenes like what would happen like if he decides to go off the track, off the pathway that they set. Then they have other things set up, like the guy having the heart attack happened in the first place, and then the ambulance scene because he was able to not talk properly or was about to like walk away. So then they had that rigged up. So then they would meet up. So then he would walk back to her while she was trying to do CPR, pretending to do so.
Yeah, I still think you need to suspend disbelief a lot to make it work.
I mean, to an extent, yes, but to be fair, um, tell me a better way to be able to pull off a premise like this that it didn't do here. Like, I think it perfect job it could have. Besides that ending part, when it comes to trying to do something like this realistically.
I think it's kind of impossible to make that realistic. To be honest, it's life is too random to like manufacture a game like that.
I mean, of course, but I mean, again, this was trillions of dollars and many months in the planning and everybody being involved.
Yeah.
Like again, they close off areas and pay off people not to go to certain areas, while they're filming for like movies and such. So
Yeah.
it's not far fetched that they did the same, but for that, and they do so with trillionaires and stuff, prizes like this.
Otherwise, I got another plot convenience. It was very convenient that the attorney is part of the game. It was very, very convenient. That bothered me. Another thing that bothered me.
I mean, everybody who's his friends is a part of the game, though, because it's a birthday surprise.
Yeah. Next up would be how convenient the actor appears on TV, so the main character figure out the villain is an actor. What he thought was the villain or the face of the company he has met. That was very plot convenience for him to connect the dots. That kind of bothered me a lot.
Well, it's not that he connected. Even if he didn't connect the dots as the character did, he still would have like realized that and went to the guy and everything because they showed the ad at that time to make him watch it, and they had CR6. Sorry, not CR6. Whatever the thing's called. I forgot. CRS. CRS on the thing there. So he knew that, it was part of it, and then he saw that guy thing, and he was on. He saw his posters on areas at other points throughout the film. So he knew he was part of it, and it showed like the address and such there, so he just had to find his location, and then he kind of like had people at gunpoint or bribed them to give him the location and where he's at and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or to track him down. So to me, even if he didn't connect the dots that he was an actor on there, I mean, considering all that, he still wouldn't have mattered exactly how he figured it out. He still would have got from point A to point B there, which is a theme throughout the entire film. Like, even if this didn't happen, he still would have gotten from point A to point B because of this.
Yeah. Next up would be my likes, because I covered enough of my issues. Showing instead of telling the past of the guy is appreciated. I like when movie does that. Dinner scene with the brother. A lot of things were funny in that movie. The painful memories of the loss of the father. It's some kind of things that keeps coming back, and it was well done. The game itself was interesting. I like the idea. The main character disliking surprises and him wanting to know everything. That felt real for someone that is very control freak. Because he was a control freak, the main character.
Yeah.
And that game placed him outside of his comfort zone, and that's amazing. Meeting with the other rich people to learn about their experience. Of course, they don't really share because they want him to enjoy his time. The mystery around the game was amazing. Finding the camera and the puppet was great. The airport scene with the leaking pen, the bathroom scene was funny. The main character trying to break the suitcase was amazing. The accident, the ride to the hospital with the cops, funny. The elevator scene was hilarious. Getting stuck in the elevator, the girl being part of the prank, the hotel
Yeah.
room, the
Yeah, and
misguided.
throughout this entire film, do you just notice how like there's so many different like scene variations where it makes you think so many things is gonna happen in this film. Like at one point, it makes you think like there's gonna be some sort of like snuff film level stuff that he's gonna be forced to do, and then other points like a kidnapping. Other point, it plays with literally every possible scenario throughout the entire film in each scene that it's gonna unravel.
Yeah, misguided opinion, misunderstanding, that feels real. Hints at him maybe killing himself. That was a good seed there. The fight Bold brother got after the car accident. The main character wondering if he's just like his father. The music throughout the movie was good. The main character seemingly killing his brother. The ending was also very appreciated because now the character realized he doesn't need to control everything to have fun. And he will go out with that girl that wasn't wearing underwear.
Yeah,
uh,
and again, a lot of people are like, oh, it just seems like such an such a character that is hard to connect with and like compare to and understand his struggles or whatnot, and to an extent because he's such a rich asshole, and then just learn some basics at the end. But it's like again, I don't think it was. It had some of that stuff that you can take away from it, sure, but it really wasn't the main point of it. And because they knew that it's just basic upper class, one top 1% metaphors that billions of films have already done already. So it wasn't really trying to do that. It was just taking you for this experience that's literally like a live action, like fucking a Christmas Carol thing with like a grumpy old rich character who's like being haunted by fucking ghosts and shit. Like you see in his house where it was like spray painted and shit. And it's like it's all a vision and stuff, but it's like non paranormal version of it. I mean, that's what I took away from it, but oh.
So overall, I would give this movie 9 out of 10. Now, among the 9s, I think it would be equal to Fight Club. I think I would give that game movie maybe the edge over Fight Club, just by a little bit because I thought that was the more grounded and realistic thing. Even if I thought there was a lot of plot convenience, still thought it was a bit more grounded than Fight Club. So I guess I like the game a bit more than Fight Club. 9 out of 10 would be my score. What is yours?
Yeah, for me, this is a really strong 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, so this is either middle in the pack or lower for David Fincher's films. That isn't a bad thing because most of his films are like 8.5 to 9.5 films. So yeah, it just proves how good of a filmmaker he is instead. But yeah, this is kind of like why I wanted to go through his filmography next though, because I knew that with these films there were gonna be because knowing your taste, I knew that you were gonna be like it's kind of hard to like believe certain things, suspension of disbelief, but I still knew that they would be
Enjoyable.
type of films that
Yeah.
yeah, well, the type of films that sort of like Prisoners that you are really into still as well, though. So I knew
Yeah.
that you would, even with having an issue with those things, that you would still really enjoy them overall.
I still think Prisoner was much better than most movies. I still think like Prisoner is one of the top things we covered on the podcast, like,
Yeah.
and
I
Arrival
mean,
as well.
which one do you like more? Which one do you like more, that or Arrival?
Arrival, Arrival all the way. Arrival, I
Yeah.
remember Arrival. I think
Yeah,
was like
you gave it like a 9.9.
yeah. So yeah, Arrival. I gave a 9.9. So like my favorite movie we covered was Triangle of Sadness, and the second one would be Arrival. So yeah, it's still very good for me. Nine, it's great movies for me. Like
Yeah.
7 is average, 8 is good, 9 is great, and like 9 and above is like amazing masterpiece and stuff. So yeah, I thought that was a great movie. Um, Anything to add to the game before we close off the stream with both Predator movie? And here, even me, I don't have much to say because both movie have very similar issues. So yeah, any closing thoughts on the game?
Yeah, no, nothing else to say about the game for me personally, but yeah, and when it comes to both Predator films, yeah, again, don't have much to other topic today because I didn't have time to revisit them, but yeah, I can still, we can pretty much just combine both of them because they're pretty similar films. The only difference is, really, in my opinion, at least the first is a lot better than the second, but that's about it.
That's funny because I thought they were equal for me. They have the same
Ooh, really?
issues. Yeah, they have the same
Yeah,
issues, and
yeah.
um,
Well, I'll say right now, this really a product of its time, like the Predator films. This is sort of like a lot of the films with like Arnold Schwarzenegger and many other actors of that like caliber during this time with like the big muscles. They're really kind of products of their time when this thing was like sort of in style and going for like the cool factor and such. But in revisiting them, I thought they would not be too great, but it did. And the second one I didn't like as much, but the first one, no, I thought was pretty great overall. And the main reason I would say is that there's a lot of creative things it does. I was not expecting them to, with the Predator character, to do that many creative things for its time, but yeah, like the stealth aspects and his camouflage and the action for its time was really good, and also the rules of the Predator, with how it treats like certain characters, is really well done and well executed and smart.
yeah,
And the acting, well, again, it's good. It has some like over the top, soldier characters. It's not done in like a bad way. It's done in like kind of like a good way to me personally, with like what it's going for. But that is in my opinion, and I really loved the production design of the Force and everything. I thought that was really well done. The lighting was great. The cinematography was great. I thought the direction was pretty good. There are of course some issues here and there, and just some weaknesses. Like again, this has not just it hasn't really held up as well over time, for sure. Uh, and there's definitely like a lot of cliches and tropes, as there are usually with a lot of like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone films. Sort
yeah.
of time, sort of like the Rocky films, which we'll be getting into next week, I guess. But yeah, overall, I thought the first was great though, and then the second was pretty much all of the similar things for me personally, but I thought it was done weaker though, and I still thought it was done solidly, but it was definitely a drop off for me though. So yeah, and yeah, the characters. Danny Glover was cool though, at least, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it. So what about you can go now, I guess. What about you?
I will start by saying I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger is a great actor. I don't think he's bad either. He's just in between. But I think the
Oh no,
biggest
he isn't a good actor. But he's basically like Keanu Reeves, where he has like one-liners and the look, and he basically it relies on people around him, so supporting cast, to
yeah
to help elevate him in films, basically.
I actually thought Keanu Reeves is a good actor, but I think the biggest strength of Arnold Schwarzenegger is really his muscle and his physique, and I think he's doing most of his stunts, at least in these movies. And he looks
Oh yeah,
good. I mean, he looks good. He's strong. He's really manly and stuff, and that's good. But I need a bit more substance for a main character, and I feel like there's that lack of substance with Arnold, and maybe that's why I gravitated much more with the detective in the second one. I thought the detective was played by a better actor, and the character himself was more interesting. I feel like uh, Muscle Guy in the first movie. It was a warrior that was interesting, but it was just a one-dimensional warrior, and that's it. The detective was more like I want to get shit done, and that's the appeal of him, and he's willing to break anything, and he is very impulsive, and this is special for a detective. You know, detective usually they're taught, they know what they're doing, they're in control, but most of the
yeah,
movie is out of control.
yeah. And again, this is sort of like why it was so entertaining for its time. It's sort of like because again, stuff like GI Joe was still in, and it's basically that type of thing. But then you put a creature like that in it, and everything just starts getting out of control and shit. And then you have these characters, and then the comedy that blends well, and the one-liners, and the action and stuff, and the cool factor. Like this is pretty much what was in during the '80s.
Yeah. So, I think I had seen in the past the first Predator movie, maybe 10 years ago. Uh, that most recent watch, I'm more critical, so I have a better opinion, I think, than 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, I enjoyed quite a lot of the movie. Um, I guess we can dive a bit deeper into it. My issues are really similar in both movie. Let's start off with the first one. The intro of the first movie was way too long for its own good. I didn't like that at all. I was like, that's a rough start. Some of the humor didn't age well. Um, like, I didn't laugh sometime, and I was like, they try really hard to be funny. Maybe it was funny back in the day, but I've seen that so many times in 2023 that it's not really good anymore sometimes, the humor. And the third bullet point for the first movie, plot armor on the main character in the final fight. Uh, feel like the main character should have died. I'm glad like he won the fight and the creature killed himself, but um, I just feel like plot armor was like in 2000. He sustained so much damage and fall, and he was crippled, and he was still able to pull this one off. Like, he was smart. He did set up a lot of traps, and he was able to kill the predator with the traps, and I like that aspect of it. But it's just really hard to believe that that man could sustain so much. Um, but that's just my take on it on that. Um, I liked a lot the set of the first movie. I will admit the set of the first movie is better than the set in the second movie because you
Yeah,
really
well,
feel
that's
like
the
you.
thing that's disappointing for me because the set of the second movie has so much potential. Just put in the Predator fucking in LA that has so much potential and what you could utilize with it,
Yeah,
and they don't really do that at all.
yeah. Like the jungle is well done. It feels believable. The reaction to people finding the dead bodies. They feel real. The action is good when there's action. The premise of the first movie being to save people was very interesting, and it turns out into a bloodbath. Int at the CIA guy maybe having his own agenda, and the mission felt believable because this is CIA. They do that. um, the team killing the villains one after another. So that was like all of the people that were taking stages. I also liked by the end of the movie when the main character basically freed the girl so she can help out killing the predator. Um, the thermal visor was very interesting. Um, I liked when the team tried to kill the monster with all of the firepower they got. Uh, it's also interesting how the predator tried to fix himself, and I enjoy the fact that he bleeds shows that he's not immortal, and these people are smart enough to know it. So they're like, we can kill this thing, and as viewer, we were like, oh, we can kill this thing. Um, so yeah, at some point you thought like the creature would attack the guy, but that's just a pig, and everyone's laughing at the guy. That was funny. The fact that the girl tried to escape many times was very believable, and the girl was actually a very interesting character. I enjoyed her a lot. She didn't add many lines, but she had that charisma, and I feel like she was the intent of the viewer being part of the crew, and that's why I enjoyed that woman character there. Um, as much as I feel like the plot armor was crazy on the main character, I enjoyed the final fight versus the Predator when it was only the main character versus the Predator, and when he realized he could bypass that thermal visor, and how the water was messing up the equipment of the Predator. That was really good. All these things are really good strength. Uh, Man, that was a great fight. Um, so that's it for the first movie for me. Any closing thoughts on the first movie?
No, that's about it. For me, I'd give it like a 7.5.
For me, the first movie is a 9 out of 10. And I think
Eh,
that's the weakest 9 we got tonight. I
Yeah,
liked Fight Club
yeah,
more.
a 7.5 or 8, I would say, around that area. But again, there are things where, for me, they don't hold up as well. But yeah, I was surprised he gave it a 9 because I thought, I guess not having to say too much isn't the same as not liking it. So
Yeah.
I just thought for some reason you were gonna say you weren't gonna like it though. But yeah, okay, so that's interesting. So you like Predator films a lot more than the Alien films.
Yeah, yeah, because there's more action. Uh, I
And well,
think
for a lot of people, it seems to be the opposite. They really love the Alien films more.
I think Aliens it relies so much on stupid character moments, like both movie, like all three movie relies so much on stupid characters. But I feel like the Predator movie they don't have these kinds of issues. Most of the points I was taking out from Alien was stupid character moment. There are so many, but I feel like in Predator so far with the first two, there's not that many stupid character moment that I can remember. Or maybe they were I just didn't notice. But if I didn't notice, then that's good. Really, like Alien biggest sin for me was really all these stupid character moment like, oh, let's go where we should not go. Oh, there's an alien there. Let's play with the thing. It's a friendly thing. Oh, I died. It's like, bro, you ran after it, bro. um, yeah, that's how I feel. I think the Predator movie are better because they don't leave that much room to do stupid stuff. But maybe I'm
Fair
wrong.
enough.
Maybe
Anyway, so the second film for you,
the second movie, I actually enjoyed it a bit more because there was more action in it.
damn,
And
okay. And as I pretty much said everything about that as well, so you can go on.
okay, let's go on. Okay, Predator 2, my issues. People can't freaking aim in the hallway. The criminal were running away. That was, bro. The first firefight outside in the streets was actually decent. People were hitting targets that were killing other people. I enjoyed that. But then in the hallway, because they wanted the guy to go on the roof, they forget how to aim. They are just like, oh yeah, let's just shoot because we shoot. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Um, Next up, the detective being on the subway, crime scene, white all gloves, and contaminating evidence by opening lots of bags. That bothered me. That kind of stuff, man. He is a detective. He should know. Even if he doesn't care about rules and others, he should know, bruh. You don't do that. You don't. Anyway, that's the second issue. The third issue, plot armor again during the fight, since he could get hit more than once by the monster. We know how strong the Predator is. There's no way the main character could sustain like 2 or 3 hits from that Predator. I enjoyed the fight overall, just like the first movie, but it's ridiculous how much plot armor the main character has. Again. Um, so now we see some rules the Predator has. Don't kill child, and that's the reason why he didn't kill the pregnant mother, because he kind of knew she was pregnant. I enjoyed that. That's interesting. That shows that there are more than just one note. There are still monsters that like to kill, but yeah, the feds, they were interesting, and their mission to capture the creature, I was actually kind of torn apart. Either it was an issue for me or not. But then I was like, if they tried to kill him, it could blow up the city. So maybe that's the reason why they really wanted to capture the creature instead of just capturing it because they want to study him. Uh, Maybe the reason was more logical than that, and it was in the vein as what I said, that they don't want to blow up the city. So that's why here I gave kind of a pass for them to trying to capture the Predator instead of killing him. And it's funny how they poorly did the job. And that also shows that at the end, even if the Predator died, they kind of lost. So the bad guy still won at some extent. And the only reason why the main character didn't die is because the other Predator, like, kind of respected the guy. And they were like, you earned our respect by killing one of us. That's basically all the movie ended. So you don't really end on a victory the same way the first movie did. And that was interesting. Uh, I liked the cast and characters were much better in this movie. Uh, they were much more likable. Everyone, like the entire cast, I cared more about this cast than the previous one. And when people were dying in this cast, I I was actually sad. It wasn't emotional for me, but it was sad because most of the time it was predictable they would die. But yeah, I just liked a lot that movie. Um, so I don't have much more to say here again. I said pretty much everything. Like the detective being able to freaking kill the predator with its own weapon to like avenge his dead comrade. That was great. So yeah, that's all my thought. I think I can move on to my grade, just like the other movie, 9 out of 10. But unlike the first one, I think this was actually my favorite movie we covered this week.
That's interesting because it's on every website. It's the lowest, has the lowest ratings out of all the films we've covered this week.
That's funny.
Yeah,
So I have particular
it's
tastes.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, 9 out of 10, and
Now you know what that means. So
what?
it means that your opinion is wrong. I'm sorry.
I should have expected that. Very funny. Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm always wrong.
Hmm.
I'm wrong to like Superman and Lois. I'm wrong.
Hey, you like Batwoman? What the fuck?
What are you talking about? I don't. I try my best to defend the show, but this is not a good show.
I give it like a 5.5 out of 10, which is again solid. Just has a lot of issues for me. Lot, just it's way weaker for me personally than the
Yeah,
first in
I can get
almost
that
every way.
feeling. I can fully get it. Because it's very similar to the first one. But yeah, any closing thoughts on Predator before we move to the outro and the ending of the stream?
No, that's about it. But yeah, I'll repost the schedule for the next 2 weeks at least for later tonight in the
Yep,
chat.
yeah. Man, I had a blast like every week. Thank you very much for your time. This is amazing. Is there anything you'd like to plug or share?
No, that's about it. Thanks
Okay.
again.
So that was another great week. I'm excited for Stargirl next week to come back in Titan. Uh, are you excited or not at all because it's Titan?
Uh, yeah, Titans. I'm just glad it's only one per episode now.
Anyway, so yeah, that was another great tweet. Thank you very much, everyone that has been watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. We will see each other in future stream and videos. And Cole, have a great night and take care, man.
You too.